says. The look she gives Emma is pure hatred. Emma did nearly destroy Matthew and Beatrix's relationship, I suppose. Seems unfair to blame the messenger, though. Refusing to slink off with my tail between my legs, Emma says resolutely. She sounds more in control than she looks. The bump on her head is horribly bruised, and half her hair is free of its ponytail. Someone needs to get to the bottom of all the lies. And a teenage reporter for St. Bernadette School Press is clearly the right person for the job, Matthew says. Go home, Emma. You're out of the competition and in over your head. Again. This isn't one of Anton's parties. You don't get to throw me out this time. And I don't see any of your fancy lawyers around to scare my parents. Besides, Rose texted me an invitation, so I'm staying. Ghosts don't send text messages, Erin says, quietly enough that not everyone hears. What now? Matthew makes an exasperated face. I said, ghosts don't send text messages. Whoever summoned us here, it's not Rose. Matthew shakes his head. I never believed it was. No, it has to be her, Grayson says. Who are you really, Grey 26? Matthew snaps. Why are you even here? Grayson clamps his mouth shut and doesn't say anything else. Matthew has a point. Rose, or whoever it is hiding behind her computer-manipulated face, invited us here for a reason. We all knew Rose. We were all at the same party where she died, except for Grayson. So, who is he? A distant bell chimes on the hour. Are we going in or what? Amber barks, looking up from her phone. The others traipse up the steps toward the hotel entrance. Matthew tries the handle, and the door swings open. I wait down on the sidewalk, though. This whole situation is so wrong. Erin pauses on the threshold, and I think she's going to say something mean. But, for once, her voice is missing its usual sharpness. We're in this together, Charlotte. We can't back out now, she says, then ruins what was almost a nice thing by continuing to speak. Basically, we're all fucked. I take a deep, wobbly breath. Then I follow her through the door. It doesn't matter why the others are here, or what they think of me. Anton is the only one who matters. He's literally all I have left. 21. Erin. This is the shittiest hotel I've ever been in, and I've seen my fair share of shitty hotels. I'm sure that it used to be grand, with gold leaf on the plasterwork and velvet drapes. Now there are big strips of wallpaper peeling from the walls, and the stair carpet has been ripped up, revealing bare wood speckled with black mould. There are wires snaking across the ceiling, leading to lights that don't do much to brighten the place. What little furniture there is has fallen into disrepair. A coffee table with a broken leg leans against a wall, with a vase full of dead flowers sitting on top. A rug is so threadbare that I can see the Hessian backing along with a large, dark stain. I approach the front desk. Perched on the chair with her hand on an old-fashioned telephone is a mannequin. Marker pens have been used to garishly colour in her face, like a child's attempt at putting on makeup. A red wig sits askew on her plastic head. On the desk in front of her, there are 2 wristbands and 2 pairs of smart glasses. Emma and Amber put them on. Amber adjusts hers in a tarnished mirror, checking her reflection from several angles. I catch Matthew staring strangely at her. He's always been weird around Amber. At first I took it for dislike. Now I'm not so sure. Why has Rose sent us here? Charlotte whispers. The hotel was meant to be the location of one of Anton's challenges. Matthew gestures to the mannequin. She has nothing to do with us, though. Whoever brought us here has set this up to reveal the next suspect, I say, grimacing. We're dancing to a psychopath's tune. Tra-la-la. We've got no choice but to play. It's the only way to save Anton, Beatrix says. Some people are only here for Anton's money, Charlotte says, directing her judgment at me and Amber. I almost make a crude joke about Charlotte's intentions toward Anton, but there's a new desperation to Charlotte, like she's barely holding it together. I'm guessing she's taken a dip in the river because her clothes are wet and dirty and she's shivering with cold. No fun mocking her when she's already at rock bottom. I'm here because I want to find out who is doing this to us, Matthew says. It's Rose, Grayson says. I know it is. Emma takes his picture, making him hurry off with a hand over his face. He leads us into a lounge with shabby sofas and clean squares on the wall where pictures used to hang. There are more mannequins, all female with red hair. They're splayed out on the furniture. Some have been crudely dressed in designer clothing. Others wear costume jewellery that reflects the light from a dusty chandelier. This is up there with the creepiest things I've ever seen, Grayson says. Pretty sure we're in a horror movie. In a world where mannequins come to life after sunset, Beatrix says in a decent impression of a movie voiceover. Grayson laughs nervously and tries to smile at her. Dead, rich, dead pretty, dead, she continues. Can we take this seriously? Matthew interrupts, and Beatrix stops with a roll of her eyes. Are they supposed to be her? Charlotte says, chattering her teeth in my direction. Like Erin would wear fashions from 3 years ago, Amber grumbles. All plastic diamonds. I don't think that's the point they're trying to make, Matthew says. Emma snaps another photo. The flash splits the darkness to reveal the grime on the floor and the mannequin's smudged makeup. It's strangely unsettling, especially considering the mannequins really do look like me. Their cold, hard faces are fixed in full-lipped pouts. Their pink skin is shiny and bloodless, and their limbs are arranged into unnatural positions that accentuate how not alive they are. They're as fake as I feel in my newly applied makeup, with my hair stinking of hairspray. Like me, they have no choice except to let others style and pose them however they want. What's the point of this? Amber complains. You tell us, Matthew says. You first. She pushes past him to head upstairs. We traipse up the creaking stairs, lit by flashes from Emma's camera. The bursts of light pick out dusty oil paintings. Crumbling brickwork reveals the wooden bones of the house beneath. There are several doors up here, all closed. What was the challenge supposed to be? I ask Matthew. Never have I ever, he sighs. Anton thought it would be a break from the running around and would make good content. Huh. I pushed the first door open. More mannequins posed on a bed with lacy sheets. Never have I ever eaten cheese. You haven't lived, he says, managing a crooked smile. Never have I ever... Never have I ever cheated on someone, Beatrix says, which surprises me. The mood in the room goes icy. Neither have I, Matthew says, but Beatrix has already left the room. He rounds on Charlotte. This is your fault. That comment you posted on Gossip today has her doubting everything I say. I said I was sorry, Charlotte mumbles, pretty sure she said no such thing. Matthew gets close to Charlotte, leaning down to speak right in her face. Never have I ever screwed over my family. She gulps heavily. I think she's going to cry. You're not my family, she whispers. You're the son of the man who stole my mother from me. He makes an irritated-sounding noise and points at her meaningfully. Then he pushes past to the upstairs landing, where Beatrix is waiting, and kicks open the next bedroom door. This room is different. As well as the mannequins, there are pieces of paper stuck all over the walls. I squeeze past to take a closer look. What? That's theft! Amber cries, shoving me aside. She snatches the papers from the walls and crumples each one up, trying to block us from seeing what they are. I pick up one of the discarded balls and unfurl it. It's a final notice for a credit card in Amber's name. The letter's been ripped into several pieces, but someone's taped it together and used pink lipstick to draw a ring around the total. It's over £20,000. Each bill is for a similar amount, adding up to hundreds of thousands. One is a notice of default on the mortgage. No wonder she's so desperate for me to win Anton's money. Get out! Amber shouts. This is personal information. Matthew pulls down a bank statement with a low whistle. I'm impressed. Amber snatches it from him. Shut up, or I'll tell everyone your secrets. She whips around on Emma. And get that camera out of my face. Always sticking it where you're not wanted. Emma laughs. Believe it or not, I haven't bothered taking your picture before now. Amber glares at her. You were in our faces at that party too. Then Matthew threw you out. Pretty embarrassing, wasn't it? The party where Rose died? Grayson says. Amber ignores him and goes back to gathering up paper. All I can do is numbly watch as she rampages around the room, armfuls of bills clutched to her chest. I am cold, empty plastic. The flash turns everything white, and I'm pulled into last year, when debt collectors were calling us up every day, and scary men kept turning up at the house wanting to speak to Amber. That was the first time I realised how much of a problem my mother has. That was when I decided it was up to me to fix things for her. I didn't have much to trade on. My looks, my body, my age. I'd had my photo taken enough times to know how to pose, so I figured it would be easy. Not that different from the bikini photo shoots I'd done so many times. I mostly sold them as one-off pieces of art to uber-rich men who contacted me through social media. I was careful to always hide my face, so no one would be able to prove the pictures were really me if they ended up on the internet. I never met anyone in person. I told myself it was just meat, and I pretended that I was the one in control. Amber never asked why the men stopped turning up at the house. She didn't ask where the money to pay off the debt collectors came from either. She had to know, though. Where would a 16-year-old have gotten all that money from? I never spoke to anyone about what I'd had to do. One person found out, but they never told. I made sure of that.
22. Grayson. We all know who Rose's next suspect is going to be. When Rose appears with her spinning wheel and that knowing smile, I'm almost ready. Seeing her standing there, even if she's made of light and computer code, still takes my breath away. I can't accept that it's not the real Rose. The way she slouches with her weight on one leg, all her little habits, like how she sweeps her hair from one side to the other. How can she be so much like Rose and not be Rose? No, Matthew and Erin have to be wrong. It's too painful to accept that this has all been a trick. How are you enjoying my haunted house? She says, taking a bow. What do you want from us? Beatrix says. Let Anton go, Charlotte cries. Let's meet our next suspect, shall we? Rose says. She spins the wheel, as noisy as ever. She's drawing it out, playing with us. It's obvious the next suspect is Amber. I'm presuming Rose knew about her financial situation and was threatening to tell on her. For all her faults, Rose didn't like lies. Like before, an embedded video screen opens. This time it's a recording taken in Anton's kitchen. The camera's been left running after filming some stupid eating challenge or whatever. Rose is there, making a cup of tea, quietly humming to herself. She's so alive and so beautiful. I swallow, watching as she jabs aggressively at the tea bag with a spoon. Fetch me a cuppa, will you, Rose? Be a love, Rose, she mutters. A smile twitches on her lips. She makes a hacking noise and spits into the tea. Screw you, Anton. I laugh out loud. It's good to know she hated him. It's also heartbreaking to know that she hated him. She's happily stirring the spit tea when a redhead storms into the shot. I was expecting Amber, but this girl is younger, prettier. I look across at Erin, and she's gone as still as a mannequin. In the video, Erin goes straight over to Rose and shoves her hard. What the hell do you think you're doing? Rose steps back and examines her striped sweater where Erin touched her, dusting it down with a look of mild irritation. Questioning my choices in life, if you must know. My mother's problems are none of your business, Erin yells. Stay out of it, Rose. It's weird seeing Erin so worked up. I remember her temper when I rescued her from that crate at the museum. Despite her cold exterior, Erin's blood runs hot. It is my business when her seedy loan shark friends turn up here, isn't it? Rose says coolly. There's a pause. Oh, you didn't know that? Sweet. What did they want? Money? Being loan sharks? They tried to intimidate me into paying them. I guess they were banking on me giving a shit about Amber, which I don't. There's not giving a shit, and there's threatening my mother with social workers. You don't think things are bad enough already? Rose sighs dramatically and folds her arms. I heard about your side hustle, Erin. You're 16, for fuck's sake. You shouldn't be selling photos of yourself online to fund your mother's gambling habit. Back in the tatty hotel bedroom, Emma gasps softly and glances at Erin. She snaps a photo. Erin pretends to not notice, though. She continues staring straight ahead, her chin defiantly lifted. The video keeps rolling. It's none of your business, Erin snarls. It is my business when I have to work with you and Amber. You're a child, and she isn't fit to be a parent. You can't call a social worker on her. She's not that bad. She really isn't. You're a coward, Rose says. Why are you protecting someone who doesn't give a shit about you? With no warning, Erin swings a punch. Rose staggers backwards, raising her fingers to dab at a bleeding lip. Stay away from me, and stay away from my mother, Erin says quietly, her face twisting into something vicious. Come near me again, and you're dead. The video ends. Grinning, Rose points at the wheel as it slows and stops spinning. She tears the silhouette off to reveal two faces, Amber and Erin. Like sisters, Rose laughs. But which one is really calling the shots? This is bullshit, Amber snaps. Who the fuck does she think she is? There's a special prize hidden in one of the rooms, Rose continues. She purses red lips at us and blows a kiss. The mannequins will show you which way to go. I glance at the mannequins and try to figure it out. I've got nothing. Smile for the camera, Erin. The ghost flickers and disappears. We all stand here, waiting for someone to speak. What are the photos of? Charlotte finally says. Were they, you know? Fuck off, Charlotte, Erin snarls. I wasn't being mean. I just don't understand, Charlotte says. She goes quiet, chewing her lip. Amber grabs her daughter's arm and pulls her outside the room. The rest of us crowd around the door and watch them. Emma stands poised with her camera. This could ruin me, Amber hisses, loud enough that everyone can hear. How could you be so stupid? They're your debts. Erin snatches her arm from Amber. They're private. You dragged me into this sordid mess by threatening to murder Rose days before she died for real. And the photo she was talking about? Didn't you think about my reputation? That's all you care about, isn't it? Erin cries. How you will look. Was this your plan all along, to cast me as a terrible mother? She slow claps her daughter. Congratulations, Erin. You win. I was trying to help you. For the last time, I don't need your help. Especially not that kind of help. How could you be so stupid as to let Rose, of all people, find out about your little photo shoot? Now the whole world will find out how much of a... Whoa! Time out! Matthew interrupts, placing himself between the two. Amber, you're being seriously uncool right now. Amber laughs hysterically. Is this you looking for a signed picture? I'm sure she'd be happy to sell you one for the right price. I don't usually agree with Matthew, but right now I want to punch Amber on Erin's behalf. What kind of mother lets her daughter feel responsible for fixing her financial problems, then turns on her when the truth comes out? Amber should feel ashamed, but only of herself. Erin swallows heavily and fixes her mother with a cold stare. We're done, she says, her voice shaking. As soon as this is over, I'm leaving. Where exactly are you planning to go? Amber laughs. Oh, wait. You're planning to run away with your little boyfriend, Jesse. Oh, you thought he was a secret. How adorable. Jesse, Erin, and him. I can't for the life of me understand why a girl as beautiful and as sharp as Erin would ever go for Jesse. It doesn't make sense. Charlotte's surprised too. She lets out a gasp and clamps a hand over her mouth. A flicker of hurt crosses Erin's face, but she pushes it away. You knew about me and Jesse. He picked you up because you looked like a meal ticket, Erin, and you let him use you because that's what you do. I can't listen to this anymore. You're the one using her, I say. You're pathetic. Everyone looks at me in surprise, like they didn't realize I had it in me. I've surprised myself too. Amber tosses her head. And here comes another boy wanting a piece of my daughter. But don't worry, I'm sure there's plenty to go around. Stop it, Matthew says. That's enough. Amber looks him up and down, then turns to Erin. They don't care about you, not really. They'll use you and throw you away, and it's me you'll come crawling back to. No, I won't, Erin says, in barely a whisper. We'll see, Amber says, before leaving the room with a swish of her hair. Her heels tap down the stairs. Erin smooths down her t-shirt, and then, ignoring all of us, she sets about ransacking the bedroom. She picks up every mannequin and tosses it down, limbs popping out of sockets, wigs sliding off shiny plastic. After she's done with the mannequins, she pulls the pillows off the bed and flips the mattress. When she's turned over every piece of furniture in the room, she starts on the next. The rest of us silently follow, no one knowing what to say or do. We stand there watching. She's too calm and methodical to be taking her temper out on the hotel. She's looking for something. It's times like this I wish I was smarter, because I have no idea what's going on. What's she doing? Beatrix whispers. Finding the special prize that Rose talked about, Charlotte says, her teeth chattering. The photo she sold to pay Amber's debts. She's gone really pale. I guess she's spooked, like the rest of us. But I can't help wondering if something else is going on too. She was acting odd when we got here, all shaky and skittish. But since Erin and Jesse's relationship was revealed, she's gone as white as death. Matthew grimaces at Charlotte. Then he silently hands her his leather jacket. The ghost said the mannequins would show us the way, he says. I don't get it. Erin finishes searching the upstairs and goes downstairs. Outwardly, she looks calm, but her eyes have this panic in them that's not been there before. We follow her into the living room. This room is warmer than the rest, with a fire burning in the hearth. The mannequins bask in the light of the crackling flames, without a care in the world. Erin turns on the spot. "Where is it? I've searched everywhere." "Rose blew us a kiss. She was wearing red lipstick," Charlotte says, small in Matthew's oversized jacket. "Rose always wore red lipstick," Erin says. "But only some of the mannequins are. It's a clue." Seeming to pull herself together, Charlotte walks over to the one mannequin in the room with red lips and follows its outstretched arm to the mantelpiece. She pulls an envelope from the face of a carriage clock. Erin freezes, her chest heaving. Charlotte hesitates with her fingers on the envelope's flap. Then she tosses the whole thing into the flames. "Hey, that could have been important," Emma says, springing forward. The envelope is ash now. Charlotte shakes her head. "It wasn't." She walks out of the room toward the front door. The rest of us follow. Beatrix clears her throat. People, who set this up? Because it wasn't a ghost." It's a good question. Charlotte's bottom lip wobbles. "Jesse," she whispers. "He was here earlier. I was following Erin, and I saw them meet outside. There was a van here, too. He must have unloaded the mannequins and set everything up." Erin nods. "She's right. I guess someone, Rose's fake ghost, was paying him to sabotage Anton's little game, from the inside." She gives a sour smile. "He did always love money." "It fits with what he was up to at the river, I think. That call I overheard, where he mentioned Rose, the projector." Charlotte takes a deep breath and lifts her head. "I need to tell you something else about Jesse," she says. And then the lights go out.
23. Charlotte. Jesse is all I can think about. I was more or less holding it together, right up until Amber revealed he was Erin's boyfriend. And now he's dead, because I killed him. Poor, poor Erin. In the dark, the memory is all there is. My foot kicking out, water filling his lungs, no strength to struggle, limp fingers, white skin. Just like Rose. My mind fills in the blanks, the lives not lived and the years stolen away. It's what I do, make up stories. Both Rose and Jesse are nothing but stories that will never happen. Wedding parties, grey hairs, big family Christmases like I've always dreamed of. In the dark, I'm surrounded by their untold stories, and I can barely stand. "Where are the lights?" Emma says. I try to move toward her voice, but I bump into something. A cold, dead hand strokes my cheek, and I scream. I can't see her, but I know it's Rose. Her fingers are so stiff. There's nothing but bones left after a year in the ground. I try to fight her off, but she tangles her arms around me, tugging at my hair, pressing her fleshless skull against my face. I struggle and scream and kick. "Charlotte, stop," Matthew says. "Calm down." A warm hand feels my face, then finds my hand. He pulls me free. Plastic clatters to the ground. The mannequins. It was just a mannequin. Flashes of light from someone's phone flashlight are blindingly bright. They sweep past me, but I can't make out my surroundings. "There's no handle on the front door," Grayson says. "The windows are boarded up," Beatrix says. "This is a fricking nightmare." "We'll have to go back upstairs." Matthew releases me. "Climb out via the scaffolding." The bobbing flashlight beams move away from me, and I hear footsteps on the stairs. "Wait! Can't you kick the door down?" Beatrix says. "You spend most of your life in the gym, Matthew." "And you watch nothing but baking shows and can't cook for shit," he mutters. Someone laughs. Erin, I think. She has a cruel, sharp laugh like Rose's was. In my head, I'm back at that party, and Rose is calling me a pathetic fan. "You will never, ever get to be with him," she taunts. "He wouldn't look twice at you." Suddenly, I'm surrounded by people laughing at me. Matthew, Beatrix, Erin, Grayson, Emma, even Anton. "You really are pathetic," Anton says. "As if I'd want you." I try to breathe, but my lungs won't work. I can't get any air. My chest is so tight that I think I'm turning to plastic. I'm becoming one of the mannequins, with their smooth, lifeless skin and staring eyes. "Join us," Rose whispers in my ear. "You'll never be alone again." She sweeps something across my collarbone. It's cold against my skin, and it jangles slightly. I think it's one of the gaudy necklaces from the mannequins. I reach up to touch the dangling jewels, only it tightens around my neck. Tighter and tighter, like she's twisting it. The metal settings cut into my skin. I really can't breathe. I hear the others traipsing up the stairs, their voices growing fainter. I want to call out to them, but I can't make a sound. I claw at my neck and try to get my fingers under the necklace, but it's too tight. My chest burns. My brain conjures sparks that fly across my vision. My legs sag beneath me. There are hurried footsteps, then a bright flash of light. The necklace is suddenly gone, as if it were never there. I suck in a desperate gasp of air as I drop to the ground. Another flash, farther away this time. I crawl toward it. The light came from the lounge where the fire burns low. There's a person kneeling in front of the grate, scraping at the embers with a poker. "What are you doing?" I rasp, finding that my voice is small and painful. Emma gasps and spins around, taking my photo as she does. "Charlotte, I thought everyone was upstairs. I was, that envelope." "It burned," I say. "I made sure." "Damn it," she grumbles. "Since when do you care about Erin Love?" "Because it's the right thing to do," I say. Truth is, I don't give a damn about Erin Love, but looking at those photos would have been wrong, and for all my faults, I'm not that much of a bitch. Breathing is getting easier. I stand up and find that my legs are shaky, but strong. My neck stings where I clawed at it, but my head is clear. The ghosts are gone. And I have to do the right thing by Jessie. Now that I've calmed down, I manage to find my own phone flashlight. It guides me to the top of the stairs before the battery goes, but I can hear the others. In one of the bedrooms, moonlight streams in through an open window. There are people on the scaffolding, climbing down to the street. Erin sticks her head inside. "There you are," she says, offering me her arm. She's grey-faced and looks exhausted. By the time we've made it down to the street, only Grayson is waiting for us. He gives me a weird look and opens his mouth to speak. But then we're interrupted by Emma clattering her way down the ladder, with her camera bobbing around her neck. I feel my own neck. It really hurts. "Where are Matthew and Beatrix?" she asks. "They went to find the rest of the crew," Erin says, her tone clipped and cold. "They think Jessie was involved in setting this up. I've tried to call him, but the bastard's not answering." "Do you want to talk about it?" Grayson says gently. "Any of it?" "No," Erin replies quickly. "I want to find whoever it is behind all this and kill them." Emma raises both eyebrows. "Literally?" "Shut up, Emma," Erin snarls. Then she sags a little and sighs. "I'll try Jessie's phone again." "Do I know Jessie?" Emma says. Erin scrolls through her phone and shows Emma a picture of them together. Erin's smile on the screen claws at my heart. I have to tell her. I can't tell her. "This is Jessie," Emma says, taking the phone. "I've seen him before." "He was at the museum," Erin says. Emma shakes her head. "Before tonight. Before Rose." She frowns and hands the phone to Erin. "I'll have to look at my old photos and see if anything jogs my memory." "Why does it matter?" Grayson says, scratching his head. His hair is stiff with dry mud. "Am I missing something?" "He knows what's up with this ghost thing, right? But no one's asking why he's involved," Emma explains. Money, Grayson says. Probably. Isn't it always money? Erin nods tightly. With Jessie, yes. Emma claps once. So, we find him, and we find Rose's supposed ghost too, she says. And we find out why we've been dragged into this mess. I take a deep breath. I need to tell you something, I say. They all turn to me, faces shocked like they've forgotten I was here. Jessie is... What's with your neck? Emma interrupts. Did you scratch yourself? My neck is seriously sore, actually. I tentatively touch it again. I think I had a panic attack and tried to strangle myself, I mutter. Erin pulls at my hoodie. Her expression starts off impatient, then turns to concern. You're all cut up and bruised. You did this to yourself? Maybe, I say, wincing. I don't really remember. Everything's kind of hazy. I mean, I thought it was Rose at the time, so... Rose? Grayson says. Why would Rose want to strangle you? You'll all want to strangle me in a minute, I say, sitting on the sidewalk. Everyone stares at me in silence, waiting. I take a deep breath and wipe the tears from my eyes before they can fall. Jessie's dead. I think I killed him. 24. Erin. We stand inside a gated yard by the river. An expanse of scarred concrete stretches down to the water, too small to be of interest to developers. It's empty except for various pieces of litter lying among washed-up algae and weeds, everything coated in dirty yellow foam. Totally the sort of place you could imagine finding a body. Except there's no body. Jessie was right here. I don't understand, Charlotte says. She stopped blubbering now, which is a relief. I was one sniffle away from grabbing her by the shoulders and shaking her. Stop being so pathetic, I wanted to yell, although I'm not sure if it would really be aimed at her or at myself. I haven't had the best hour, and this Jessie thing is the icing on a really shit cake that I couldn't even eat since I don't eat cake. There's nothing here, Grayson says, letting out a big breath. He looks beyond relieved that we don't have to deal with a corpse. Relieved? I'm not sure. It doesn't feel real without a body. Maybe it's not real. I kick a can, and it clatters down toward the water. You're saying someone moved the body? Why? Emma says, unimpressed. Her camera hangs loosely from one hand, its corpse photographing potential spoiled. Unless it was to get rid of evidence, she goes on slowly. Maybe he's at the hospital, Grayson says. Are you sure he was dead? Charlotte clutches her head with both hands. Her hair's drying in a puffy blonde thatch. Oh no, what if I imagined it? I don't know what's real anymore. How could you imagine an entire corpse? I say. My whole world is imaginary, Charlotte mutters through her hands. Sometimes I go entire days without anything real happening. Who's to say this is even real? For God's sake, amateurs, Emma mutters. She shakes her head. I gaze out across the oil-black water. It's funny. I planned out my entire life to revolve around Jessie, and now I'm struggling to imagine a future in which I am the centre of everything. I'm a satellite untethered from its orbit, hurtling out into the blackness of space, cold and alone. It's Jessie's gravitational pull that I already miss, not him. Maybe that part will come later, when I start to remember the things I loved about him. I try to conjure them up in my heart. His warm arms slung over my shoulder, the way he'd buy me special clothes that I only wore when I was around his house, how he'd want to start a fight with any man who looked at me. Only none of those things were really about me. I laugh softly to myself. I can't even pretend that I'm sorry he's gone. Why would you want to kill him? Emma says, making me jump. What? I say. I was talking to Charlotte. Emma eyes me suspiciously. Charlotte, focus. Tell us everything you remember. I was running from the police. Charlotte sniffles. but someone knocked me over the wall on the riverbank, and I hit my head. It got a bit hazy after that, but I remember climbing onto one of the swans. Where was Jessie? I say. Well, someone climbed onto the swan with me. It was tipping over, so they wanted me to get off. I thought it was another contestant, but perhaps it was Jessie. She focuses on her feet, shuffling her sneakers in the grime. I don't know for sure. Why would Jessie get on a swan? Emma says. Why would he be on the riverbank in the first place? He was operating the projector for Rose's appearance, Grayson says. I saw him before all hell broke loose. Why didn't you tell us that earlier? Emma says. Grayson winces. Because my brain's made of cauliflower, he says sheepishly. And there were these mannequins, and the lights went out, and... Forget it. Charlotte, you were on a swan with Jessie or someone you mistook for Jessie. What happened next? I kicked him and he fell in the water. Then I think I got knocked semi-unconscious because I don't remember anything else until I woke up here next to his body. The simplest explanation is that he was the person I kicked. Is it? Because if you did accidentally kill him, why would someone else want to cover it up? I think for a moment. To protect Anton. A death during his game wouldn't look good, not after Rose. Someone could have moved the body, hoping no one traced Jessie back to the game and to Anton. Emma snaps her fingers. You could be onto something. Charlotte, did you see anyone else? Beatrix was here, Charlotte says, sniffling. Beatrix? Grayson asks. Seriously? Charlotte nods. She was on the road outside. I ran out in front of her van and she had to stop. A van that she could have removed the body in, I say. Grayson chuckles. I'm finding it hard to believe that Beatrix has body disposal on her CV. Charlotte, Emma and I look at each other. He's so naive, taken in by a pretty face. None of us know Beatrix. Not really. The kooky act for the cameras is as put on as my own plastic persona. Beatrix wouldn't, Charlotte says. Would she? She's Anton's sister, and she'd do anything to protect him, I say. Everyone is silent, thinking their own dark thoughts. I take advantage of the quiet to run through what I know about Jessie's involvement in this big mess. It's pretty clear he's been working against Anton and helping stage the Rose shit, which explains why he was hanging around the abandoned hotel when I tracked him down. I squeeze my phone so hard in one hand that I think either the screen or my fingers will break. He set me up. Jessie positioned those mannequins to look like me and my mother, pinned her taped-together bank statements to the walls, tucked a photo of me into a carriage clock, ready for anyone to find it. I never told him about those photos. I'm tearing myself apart inside, wondering what else he lied about. Did he genuinely care about me, or was it all about how he could use me to make money? It doesn't matter now, I guess. The important thing is that Jessie wasn't working alone. Someone was paying him to set up this whole charade. The question is, who? I'm hit by an abrupt surge of nausea. I have to go, I say. Don't follow me. At the gates, I look back. They're all watching me, but no one has moved. No doubt they're waiting until I'm out of sight before they laugh at me. Emma will add this to her story. Princess Erin selling dirty photos to protect her mother, heartbroken at her boyfriend's death. It's the climax everyone wants to see. The pretty famous girl brought down a peg or two. I angrily wipe at my eyes. They're not my friends, I remind myself. I don't give a shit about them. Not Charlotte, with her mean comments giving way to kindness when it actually mattered. Not Grayson, always trying to make me laugh even when he's suffering inside. I don't care what they think of me. I slide down against the wall of an apartment building and put my head on my knees. I'm alone, and that's a good thing. I can depend on myself. I don't need anyone else. It's a few minutes before I hear footsteps. Part of me is hit by this surge of desperate hope that it's Grayson or Charlotte coming to check on me. Only it's neither of them. It's Emma, and Emma isn't one of us. Everyone's wondering the same thing. Emma leans casually against the wall. Her shrewd expression gives her away, though. For someone so young, she's as cold and determined as a shark. Did you kill Rose, Erin? You must have been scared those photos would come out. Rose was never going to tell anyone, I say quietly. Maybe you killed her to protect your mother's secret, then. I stare her down. I don't have to justify myself to her. You know, you're going to have a starring role in my article, so you should use this opportunity to put across your side of the story. You have no shame, do you? This story of yours could destroy my mother's reputation. It's sweet how you still care what happens to her. From what I've seen, she hasn't been much of a mother to you. I can't argue with that. Couldn't have been easy growing up with a parent like her. Then you finally find someone you think is on your side, only for him to die. I split up with Jessie earlier tonight, I say, before I can stop myself. You did, huh? Was it a big argument? She takes a hand out of her pocket, and I notice she's holding a voice recorder. When did this happen exactly? It must have been right before he died. I narrow my eyes at her. She smiles with all her teeth, revealing the colourful elastics stretched between her braces. On the way here, I started going through my photos from tonight, looking for him. She takes her phone from her pocket. This one from the embankment is interesting. I squint at the picture. Jessie's not in it. No, but Charlotte is. She zooms in on a blurry figure with short hair and a bright orange hoodie. I take the phone. It's Charlotte, all right. She appears to be crawling across the mud toward a swan boat, which matches the story she told us earlier. There's no sign of Jessie anywhere in the shot. There is, however, another boy down on the banks. He's smaller than Jessie, with curly blonde hair. He looks a bit like Sean 23 from the museum. I'm wondering if Charlotte was confused, and it was actually this boy on the boat with her, Emma says. Or was she lying? Why would she lie? Guilt makes people irrational? Perhaps she really did murder Jessie and made up the story about accidentally kicking him to convince us that it wasn't murder. Why would Charlotte want Jessie dead? I don't think she even knew him. Perhaps he saw something at that party, the one where Rose died. Emma takes the phone back, smiling knowingly. Or someone else entirely killed Jessie. Someone with a reason to hate him. I meet her eye defiantly. I didn't hate him, and I didn't kill him, if that's what you're insinuating. Her smile widens. I wasn't insinuating anything, only stating the facts. Either way, I'm going to look at my photos from the party and see if I can't spot him in the crowd. Maybe it will turn up something incriminating. My mind drifts to that night, Rose's last party, and the first time I met Jessie. I went there looking for Rose. It was a few days after our big argument, and I couldn't stop thinking about how she knew about the photos I'd been selling and Amber's financial situation. I was convinced she was planning to call a social worker, which would have spelled the end of Amber and Erin love, and it would have destroyed my mother. My plan was to confront Rose more calmly than during our previous discussion and persuade her to let it drop. Things obviously didn't work out that way. For starters, I couldn't catch her on her own. I saw her talking to Charlotte at the buffet table, but afterward she headed over to speak with Amber, then disappeared for a while. At some point she must have argued with Matthew, overheard by Emma. I didn't see any of that, though. I spent half the night hiding from boring conversations with Anton's acquaintances, all of whom either wanted to book me for jobs or ply me with alcohol. My reply to everything was, "Ask my mum," which was always enough to put them off on both counts. Mostly, I sat on the patio by myself and waited for Rose to reappear. When I saw her next, much later in the night, she was talking to a small group of crew members I didn't recognise. One was a tall white boy with bleached hair. The second was a scowling black girl with a shaved head. The third was Jessie. He didn't look like much to me at that point. Skinny, serious, messily dressed. He was also a lot older than me. I waited for Rose to stop talking, and then I followed her. Only, when I rounded the garden studio, she was gone. "Lost something?" Jessie stepped out from the shadows, a bottle of beer lazily hanging from his fingers. "No, it's nothing," I said. "What's a nice party like this doing with a girl like you?" he said, smiling like he knew what a crappy line it was. I rolled my eyes at him, but I had to admit to myself that he was better looking up close, especially when he smiled. There was this confidence about him. He didn't need designer clothes and perfectly styled hair to feel comfortable in his own skin. It fascinated me in its alienness. "Want a beer?" he said, offering me his half-drunk bottle. I immediately revised everything I'd been thinking and decided he was disgusting. "Your mouth is home to 1 billion bacteria, so no, I don't want to drink your backwash-contaminated beer." He laughed like he wasn't expecting this response. His laugh was real. I was used to people being weirded out by the strange things I'd say, but he didn't seem put off at all. It felt like he was intrigued by me, and not just by my looks. He eyed me with interest. "What about kissing?" I shuddered. "Kissing transfers like 80 million bacteria? I'm not kissing you either." "I wasn't going to try to kiss you," he said with a wry grin. "Take you to movies, maybe, but you're totally out of my league, so have a nice night, I guess." I was about to leave, but I hesitated. Strange men hit on me all the time, but his mixture of confidence and self-deprecation felt different. Most boys I met hid their lack of self-confidence behind an arrogance as overwhelming as Matthew's aftershave. I wanted to find out more about him. "I like movies," I said shyly. "Guess you could give me your number then," he said hopefully. I was typing it into his phone when his face changed. His serious, grown-up expression was back as he noticed something over my shoulder. "I need to have a word with someone." "Who?" I said, but I couldn't see anyone. "Just so you know, I'm a very good kisser," he said, taking his phone from me and rushing away. "Bacteria and all." The memory dissipates, and I'm left grappling with the realization that it was Jessie's adultness that attracted me to him. I didn't have a dad, and Amber wasn't exactly much of a mum. I was desperate for someone to look after me for once, and he took advantage of that. Emma is holding out her voice recorder, waiting for me to speak. But I have nothing left to say. I clamber to my feet. When Emma doesn't move her arm out of my way, I swat the recorder out of her hand. It clatters into the road. "You don't know who I am or what I'm capable of," I snarl. "You'll leave me alone, if you know what's good for you." "What the hell?" Emma says as I walk away, but I keep my eyes forward. The past can't catch me. I won't let it get close.
25. Grayson. Charlotte kicks at a pile of foamy river slime, as if Jessie's body is magically hiding underneath, rather than squirreled away. But by whom? Someone who's trying to protect Anton. That's what the others think, anyway. I don't know what to think. Everything's such a mess. Rose's ghost, as she promised, is revealing everyone's secrets, and the whole damn web of lies and death is growing and growing. Matthew and his supposed affair, Charlotte and her trolling, Amber's finances, and Erin's desperate attempt to keep her family from ruin. Top that off with Emma snooping around, and like I said, it's a mess. It's going to get messier. Both Charlotte and I straighten up as Rose's avatar crackles into life. My stomach pitches. All I can do is watch her play her game and see where it leads. I know where it will lead. "Accomplices," she says, with none of her usual amusement. She sounds kind of breathless. It's like she's nervous, which is very unlike the Rose I knew. What does she want now? Charlotte says. Hasn't she done enough? It's time for her to announce her next suspect, I say, numbly. I should have tried harder to find her. Now it's most likely too late. I've dodged the bullet 4 times now. Surely, it's my time against the wall. Rose lifts a handwritten letter. Yep, this is it. I close my eyes. I knew this was coming. I'd resigned myself to it. It still makes me want to hurl myself into the Thames. I wait, but she doesn't speak. I open my eyes, and the ghost is standing there, staring at the letter. What's she waiting for? Charlotte says. I don't suppose the killer wants to confess. No, I guess not, Rose says quietly. She clears her throat and starts to read. Dear Rose, I can't stop thinking about you, and it's driving me crazy. Oh, a love letter, Charlotte says earnestly. That's so sweet. I can't get your face out of my mind, Rose continues. The way you didn't even look back when you walked away has broken me. I love you so much, but I'm nothing to you. A kindred spirit, Charlotte says, placing a hand on her heart. A fellow lover of language and romance. You've ripped my fucking heart out and tossed it away like it's nothing. Is that what I am to you? Nothing? Something to be shitted on? Charlotte's smile fades into a toothy grimace. Oh, you know that's not actually a real word, she whispers. I think I'm going to throw up my internal organs. Rose's hand is shaking, and the letter rustles. Why won't you answer your phone? I need to talk to you. I keep thinking that if you'd listen to me, I could make all this better. I want to put my arms around you, and then you'll remember what we had. Shit, I say, adrenaline forcing me to pace, otherwise I'll explode. This isn't good. In fact, it's a total nightmare. Every word claws deep gouges in my heart. You made a promise, Rose says, and you broke it, like you broke me. Please, Rose, I can't do this. I need you. I love you. She lowers the letter and spins her wheel. I want to tear the smart glasses off and run away, but there's no point. Everyone else is seeing this. Charlotte is rapt, with a hand resting on her own heart. The wheel slows, clicks, stops. Everyone, meet my ex-boyfriend. She rips away the featureless silhouette. The picture is a recent one. Grayson Holt, she declares. Charlotte's mouth falls open. Seriously, she says. You dated Rose. We split up 5 months before she died, I say quietly. She nods as she processes the information. You know, I didn't have you down as a poet, but that letter was actually very romantic. Some of it. I think she's trying to make me feel better after Rose's reveal. I'm presuming I look as hollowed out as I feel. I knew Rose would get to me at some point. Everyone always suspects the ex. But it hurts much more than I was expecting. Yes, the letters and texts and voicemails that I sent her right after she dumped me are pitiful. But having her show other people the things I wrote is brutal. I remember writing that letter, barely able to catch my breath through my tears, my knuckles bloodied from where I'd slammed them into a door earlier that day. Inside, I was tearing myself to pieces. But when I tried to write those feelings down, I couldn't find the right words. It came out like I was some pathetic crybaby who couldn't accept his relationship was over. What do you think, people? Rose says. Did Grayson come to that party to murder me in revenge, after I dumped him?" "Did you?" Charlotte says. I numbly shake my head. Shame is filling me from head to toe. That letter made me sound so desperate and wretched. No wonder she didn't call me back. No wonder she dumped me in the first place. Who'd want to be with someone like that? I sit on the wet ground and put my head in my hands. "You don't need to be embarrassed," Charlotte says. "Putting your heart out there and being vulnerable isn't something to be ashamed of." The fact that she's trying to reassure me makes it even worse. I open my mouth to laugh it off like I usually would, but a hiccuping sob escapes. I bite my thumb to stop myself from crying. "Our next challenge is in Highgate Cemetery," Rose says. "I love it there. It's so romantic, don't you think, Grayson? Oh, and I've left a gift for Grayson on the front gates." At least this stops me from crying. I can't think what she's left for me, but I'm guessing it being made public will prove as traumatic as her reading my letter out loud. I need to get to the cemetery before anyone else and make sure that I'm the one who finds it. I move to stand, but then my hand falls on a hard object hidden in a pile of washed-up trash. I surreptitiously move it with 2 fingers. A phone. "Are we going to the cemetery?" Charlotte asks, eyeing me with such pity I can't bear it. "I'll catch up with you," I manage to say. "I need a minute to get myself together." She hesitates, clearly unsure if she should leave me alone or not. She does, though. Girls rarely know what to do when a boy cries. It makes them too uncomfortable. Thanks, patriarchy. I wait until she's out of sight before retrieving the phone and brushing it off. It's wet and filthy, but the screen lights up when I press the power button. I'm presuming it belonged to either Jesse or the person who removed his body. The background is the default blue. The owner didn't bother to customize it, or, it seems, set up a passcode lock. I open it and flick through the photos. There aren't many, but I do find a couple of Erin. Jesse's phone, then. He doesn't have email set up or any social media. There are some text messages, but nearly all of them are from Erin, asking where he is and why he's not calling her. The last one from her reads, "Matthew came to speak to me. He was flirting with me." He followed it up 40 minutes later with, "Fuck you, Erin." That message must have been sent right before he died. Erin didn't reply. I checked the calls. Jesse wasn't good at adding contacts to his address book. Other than the calls to and from Erin, most are numbers without names. I'm about to pocket the phone when something familiar catches my eye. I'm not good at remembering digits, but this is different. This number is Lenny's. Why was he calling Lenny? I say. I try to figure it out, but it makes no sense. How could Lenny have even met Jesse? My head jumps between possibilities. Jesse spying on us contestants in advance of the game. Jesse investigating Lenny on behalf of Anton after she stepped in to help me. Lenny couldn't have been in on it. She wouldn't do that to me. I know Lenny. But do I? She has so many secrets, something I always wrote off as her being independent and busy. Now I'm questioning all those times she couldn't meet for ice cream because she had schoolwork to do, and all the times she deflected my questions about her past. I can't believe she's part of this, though. I tell myself Jessie must have been contacting her against her will. She probably didn't tell me because she didn't want to worry me. No way is my best friend deliberately lying to me. Then the phone rings, and I bat it into the air in surprise. I catch it, and focus on the screen. It's Lenny's number. Shakily, I answer the call and silently hold it to my ear. "Jessie?" Lenny's voice says. "Where are you?" I stay silent, listening to her soft breathing on the line. "Jessie, you there?" She hangs up. I stare at the phone for a few heart-shattering moments. Then I tuck it into my pocket and head for the cemetery.
26. Charlotte. I get how Grayson feels. When Rose revealed the comments I wrote on Gossip, I felt the same. Humiliated and ashamed, and like I couldn't look anyone in the eye. I should have done more to reassure him that his secret really isn't that bad. We've all lost our heads over love at some point. If I had reassured him, then maybe I wouldn't be alone with my own thoughts again. I always used to love my ability to slip into a daydream, any time, any place. But now the thoughts come uninvited, clawing their way into my consciousness, like they did at the Mannequin Hotel. It takes all my concentration to keep my mind focused on the real world. I wait at the bus stop on a wide, empty street. The occasional car passes, but mostly it's me and 100 dark places where anything could be hiding. I try to act like I belong, like I get buses alone at night all the time. My head keeps drifting to thoughts of Jessie, only it's my face on his corpse's body. It was real. He was real. I didn't imagine it. As the bus pulls up, the wind whistles past me, carrying with it the smell of river water. I quickly scramble on board, into the bright artificial light and promise of safety. I sit on the top deck with a few others, a woman eating a stinky burger, a drunk man in a posh suit who sways in his seat, and a pair of girls giggling behind their hand as they eye me. I check my reflection in the window. I'm a mess after my dip in the river. Damp, muddy, goose-bumped with cold. I futilely pat at my hair, but it's no use, and I'll have to meet Anton looking this terrible when I find him. Just then, I see movement behind me. I presume it's another passenger getting on the bus, but when I look over my shoulder, there's no one there. Weird. I return to picking dirt out of my hair. The person behind me moves again. "Hey, what?" I turn to the laughing girls, but they've lost interest in me and are watching videos on their phone. And I'm officially losing it, I say to myself. I lick my thumb and use it to remove a splash of mud from my chin. There's movement in my reflection again. A person slumps into the seat right next to me. I feel the seat jerk. I freeze with my hand on my face, and then they lean forward in the seat so that their reflection appears next to mine. It's Jessie, with empty eye sockets and riverweed spilling out of his mouth. "You think you look bad? Look at me," he gurgles. I scream and try to scramble away from him, smacking my head into the window in the process. I pin myself into the corner, only there's no one in the seat next to me. There are still only 5 of us on the top deck, and the others are watching me suspiciously from a distance. I check beneath the seats. All I see is an expanse of grubby flooring and litter. It must have been a dream. I dare another glance at my reflection. There's no sign of Jessie. All the same, I'm officially uneasy. When the bus pulls up at the next stop, I hurry downstairs. The girls' laughter is a sudden sharp noise as I disappear from view. Outside in the cold, I check my map. I've travelled farther than I thought, so perhaps I did fall asleep and dream of Jessie. That has to be the explanation. I screw up my face so tight that I feel a rumbling vibration in my ears. It doesn't rid me of the sleepy days threatening me with more intrusive thoughts, though. I shouldn't be alone. I fumble with my phone and call Matthew, because who else is there? He answers after 6 rings. "Charlotte," he says, sounding surprised and a bit scared. Hearing his voice brings a feeling of relief. The vastness of the city shrinks slightly to a more manageable bubble. "I wanted to say, Me too," he says quietly. "Where are you?" Near the cemetery, just around the corner.
I'll drive around and pick you up.
He hangs up. I sit on a bench and try to stop thinking about Jessie. I rub my neck. It really hurts, and my brain is super woolly. Nothing makes sense. My thoughts keep jumping all over the place. 1 second, I'm imagining I'm in the water, and Jessie's trying to steal my boat, so I kick him away. Then his face changes, and it's Sean 23 who I'm kicking. He swims off and is heaved into a Coast Guard's dinghy, safe and sound. I don't know if I'm imagining that, because I don't want to accept that I killed a person, or if it's what really happened. The water was so cold, and I was so confused and scared. Next, I'm on the ramp, crawling out of the river. It's freezing, and my vision is closing in on me. But Jessie was there. I'm sure he was, and he was dead. At least, I think I'm sure. But now he's gone, and the way Emma was looking at me, she thought I'd made it up. What if I did? My memories jump again. I'm in the Mannequin Hotel, and I'm panicking in the dark. Rose's ghost is there with me, wrapping her cold fingers around my throat. No, that's not right. I touch my neck again. A ghost didn't do this to me, and I'm pretty sure I didn't do it to myself either. Which means someone else, someone real, was in that hallway with me, in the dark, and they tried to kill me.
Charlotte!
I jump as Matthew hurries to my bench. His van is parked on the road, headlamps bright.
You look like you were in a trance. Didn't you hear me calling your name?
I shake my head, tears prickling my eyes.
Jesus, what happened to your neck?
He says. It was in that hotel with the mannequins. I don't actually know what happened.
Shit. I should have waited until the rest of you got out, but we thought you were right behind us.
He rubs a hand on the shaven back of his head.
We thought that we could catch up with Jessie and find out what the hell he's up to.
Did you find anything out? I whisper.
No. Most of the crew has packed up and gone home, and no one's seen Jessie.
Oh, I say. I open my mouth to tell him the truth, but the words won't come. It was one thing confessing to Erin, Grayson and Emma. It's another admitting it to Matthew. He'll hate me all over again, and I can't handle that right now.
He's a weird guy, Matthew continues. I wasn't that stoked about bringing him on board again, but Anton wanted to stick to the original crew. Half of them don't want anything to do with him these days, so we had to take whoever we could get.
That's weird, I say. I can't believe they wouldn't want to work with Anton.
Not really, considering he ditched them without a second thought after Rose died.
He did? Oh.
Jessie was really eager, though. He'll do anything for a paycheck, you know. He's not good with money. He's always wanted to be a musician, and he must have ploughed thousands into it.
Matthew, I say, I need to tell you something.
I guess it's no surprise that he'd be involved in this Rose thing. If someone paid him, then he'd do it without a second thought.
Matthew, Jessie is dead. Matthew gapes at me.
Dead?
He was killed, I say, missing out the part involving me. But then someone took his body away. We don't know who it was, but... I'm about to say that Beatrix was there at the river, but the passenger door on the van opens, and Beatrix climbs out. We're going to be late for the next challenge, she says, her hands thrust deep in her cardigan pockets. She glances between us. What's going on?
Nothing,
Matthew says quickly. Not sure why he's keeping it from Beatrix, or why he's gone so still. He's looking at her funny, like he's realised something about her that has him scared. We should go, Beatrix says. Matthew checks his watch.
Yeah, come on.
He jogs to the van. Beatrix hangs back, still staring at me. Why can't you leave him alone? What do you mean? I mean, you're always pointing out that he's not your real brother and saying how much you hate him, yet the second you need help, you expect him to come running. That's not true. No? Whose jacket is that you're wearing? I fell in the river and I was cold. Exactly. You use him because, no matter what, he always has your back. You're horrible to him, Charlotte, and one day he'll give up on you. She watches me icily as I open and shut my mouth, lost for words. Then she moves to leave. It would be better if you walked to the cemetery. It's around the corner, and the back of the van is dirty. For a second, I'm furious and hurt, but then it hits me that she's right. I am horrible to Matthew, and I don't know why. I've been so consumed by jealousy that he got to live with Anton that I didn't stop to consider his feelings. Not even once. All along, he's been trying to be my big brother, and all I've done is yell at him and be mean. In the van, Matthew raises both hands in a shrug as Beatrix tells him I'm not coming with them. Smiling brightly, I wave him off. I manage to wait until they're gone before I burst into tears. There's no time to be self-indulgent, though. I wipe my eyes and make my own way to the cemetery. By the time I get there, the van is already parked, but the gates of the cemetery are closed, so I don't know if they've gone inside. My eyes fall on a plastic envelope cable tied to the bars. At first, I think it's a missing dog poster, but then I realise it's a torn piece of paper. I pull it out of the envelope and squint at the messy handwriting.
I know you're sleeping with him,
it reads.
I saw you together in his pool.
Rose said she'd left a gift for Grayson on the gates. I wonder if this is another extract from one of his letters, and what it could mean. Did Grayson suspect Rose of having an affair while they were still together? And could that have made him angry enough to kill her? Hearing a noise behind me, I quickly tuck the piece of paper into my pocket and yank the plastic envelope off the gate. I stuff it under a bush. Something tells me that trusting any of the others would be a mistake. From now on, I'm going to be holding my cards close to my chest. 27. Erin. My mother is bathed in the glow of a streetlight. She leans up against the cemetery fence with her hair swept over a shoulder. She rearranges her t-shirt and pushes her breasts higher in her bra. Everything's a performance with my mother, down to the way the shadows fall on her face. She's not waiting for me. I don't warrant any of her current preening. I hide out of sight to find out who she's meeting. I don't have to wait long. Minutes later, Matthew bounds over. They talk, accompanied by angrily gesticulating arms. The argument doesn't last long. Matthew spots Beatrix emerging from their van with a cardboard box and immediately puts a few feet between him and Amber. He shoos her away and goes to intercept Beatrix. I wait until he's out of sight. Then I step out of my hiding place and approach my mother. If I surprise her, she hides it well. "Erin, darling, I was worried." There's a slight slur to her voice. No one else would notice, but to me, it's clear she's had a few drinks. "What are you doing?" I say. "Rose invited me to play this game with you, so here I am." Her laugh is like breaking glass. "And someone has to keep an eye on you, don't they?" She reaches to smooth my hair, but I duck away. "What are you doing with Matthew? You've been weird with him all night, and that discussion you just had clearly wasn't friendly. Is something going on between you two?" "It's nothing," she says breezily. Usually I'd argue and get nowhere, only I've had enough of letting people lie to me. I try a different tack. "You're right," I say. "Right about what?" Her lips purse in confusion. "Of course there's nothing going on between you and Matthew. What would he want with you, anyway?" I say. "Oh, Matthew wanted plenty with me." That was easy. She's so predictable. I fold my arms and wait. "Fine. We kissed, if you must know. I hope you're not too jealous." Of her and Matthew? What a joke. I raise an eyebrow. "When was this? Back when he was a 17-year-old child?" Her smug expression falls at the corners. "He was 18, so get off your high horse already. Did Rose find out?" "Yes, Rose knew." She sighs. "That picture of Matthew leaving the hotel caused a big drama, and she figured it out." "That was you? You were having an affair with Matthew?" Wow, what was he thinking? "It wasn't an affair," she says reluctantly. We met for a drink and went to my room, only he panicked and ran away before anything happened. I believe her. She wouldn't make up a story in which a man didn't want her, even to save her own reputation. I eye her closely, looking for signs of guilt on her overly smooth, expressionless face. Did you kill her? She laughs again. Why would I want to kill Rose? Because it would have ruined you if she'd revealed the truth about you and Matthew, never mind your financial situation. Like I said, nothing happened with Matthew. Besides, she was never going to tell, or call a social worker, or give me up to the press. No, I say, because from what I saw, she hated you. Amber looks at me slyly. She didn't hate you, though, did she? The truth hits me like a bucket of icy water thrown in my face. Rose kept those secrets to protect me. First, Amber's almost affair with Matthew, then her financial problems and her poor parenting. I wish I could rewind time and ask Rose why. Ask her what I ever did to deserve that. But the last time I saw her, all I cared about was making sure she kept her mouth shut. I nod slowly, trying to take it all in. I've never felt so much disgust for my mother. It's not the Matthew thing, it's everything else. The selfishness, the lack of accountability for the things she's done, the manipulation and lies. I move to walk away. Amber scurries to block my path, a sickly sweet smile tightening her plump lips. Erin, wait. Come on, darling. We both said some things we regret earlier, in the heat of the moment. Can't we put it behind us? I don't trust myself to answer. It's a trap that will lead me right back to the beginning. I'm a mess, Erin. But my own mother wasn't a kind woman, and it started me out on the wrong foot. Her voice takes on the rehearsed rhythm of someone who has practiced this same speech 1,000 times. I was never good enough for her. When I got pregnant with you at 17, she cut me off. If I made some bad decisions along the way, please know that I did my best. I've heard it all before. You have no idea what it was like, Erin, she continues, her voice wavering. I did everything to give you the life she didn't let me have. All you've ever done is throw it in my face. I wish I knew what I was getting so wrong. And there it is, the twist where everything goes from being her fault to mine. I laugh softly, which confuses her. I'm trying, Erin. I'm going to keep trying because you're everything to me. Amber and Erin love is everything to me. This is what always happens. She attempts to plaster over the cracks in our relationship with sugary words, pretend that everything's fine, go back to normal. But it's not my normal, it's hers. It's always about her. I keep walking, stepping past Amber without another word. She tries to argue, but Rose gets between us. Or Rose's avatar, at least. We fall silent and wait for her to speak. Me again, she says, sounding bored. She spins her wheel with no fanfare. Want to meet our final suspect? I wait for the wheel to stop spinning. There's one more person left to have their secrets laid bare. Beatrix. Rose smiles. We were like family. Me, Anton, Matthew and Beatrix. But of course Beatrix really is Anton's family. His little sister, to be precise. Beatrix has always seemed so quiet, if you ask me, happy to blend into the background with her pigtails and constant smile. But I suppose there are unanswered questions too. Like, what was she doing by the river where Jessie's body lay? Beatrix would do anything for Anton, but he wouldn't give her what she wanted, a starring part in his videos. That was my role, Rose says, and I can tell you, this used to make Beatrix very jealous. It's true that Rose used to be the star in Anton's stunts. I never knew that Beatrix was jealous. She always seemed so happy to be the kooky, giggly one, the adoring little sister and Rose's best friend. Here's the thing, Rose whispers. Beatrix was the one who found my body. Only the timelines don't add up. It took her a whole hour to call the police, So, what was she doing during that time? Interesting fact, a member of the staff saw her carrying a bucket of cleaning products at close to 4 a.m, and it said that the pool house smelled of bleach when they fished me out of the water. Covering up the evidence, I say to myself. Rose swishes her hair. Your job, Anton fans, is to figure out what Beatrix was up to. Was our under-the-radar accomplice simply house-proud, or was she trying to hide something more sinister? And who was she protecting? Herself, or someone extremely close to her? Matthew or Anton? Beatrix would do anything for either of them. We're going to have a little treasure hunt, Rose declares. If you've played any of the Shadow City mini-games, you'll know all about sleeping ghosts. I don't have the time or the interest to play Shadow City, but I did my research. I know this game. Anton has hidden 100 virtual bones in the cemetery, Rose says. Your total at the end of this round was supposed to determine his top 4. Now it will decide whether you get to stay in the game long enough to rescue Anton. What's the prize? I say, frowning. There has to be a prize. It makes me extremely nervous that she hasn't told me what we're playing for. Rose drops her voice to a dramatic whisper. But be warned, do not scream. She vanishes to the soundtrack of a woman screaming like she's in a horror movie. Wearily, I make my way toward the cemetery gates, Amber tottering several yards back, too cool to be seen with me. I bump into Charlotte and Emma outside the entrance. Erin, you're here, Charlotte says, pulling me into their secretive huddle. Her hand is surprisingly warm. Emma says she found something. Emma glances around nervously. When she speaks, her voice is a whisper. I looked through my photos from the party where Rose died, and we all jump and turn at a rustling in the undergrowth. Emma gives a panicked shriek. A head and shoulders appear. Grayson, I snap. Could you not creep up on us outside the deserted cemetery? Sorry, he says sheepishly, picking a leaf out of his hair. I didn't want to face everyone after that letter, so I hid in a bush. You're such a weirdo, I say. He shuffles out, refusing to look any of us in the eye. I can feel the embarrassment radiating off him. It's understandable. That love-hate letter was painfully pathetic. But, at the same time, there's something sweet about caring so much for someone that you completely fall apart when they leave you. This night couldn't have been easy for him. I punch him on the arm. Welcome to the Suspect Club, I say. He rubs his bicep and tries to smile. It comes out as a pained grimace. Right then, there's a scream from deep inside the cemetery. A second later, Matthew bursts out of the gates. I don't know where Beatrix is, he cries. She ran off into the cemetery, and I was looking for her when I heard her scream. Rose has raised the stakes in this game of hers, and Beatrix is the prize we're playing for.
28. Grayson. The cemetery gates creak as I squeeze through, flanked by tall trees and 4 pillars standing like sentinels. A wide path winds its way into darkness. Nearby, there's a small wooden gatehouse with shuttered windows. Beyond, the path branches off into densely wooded areas dotted with dozens of tombstones. Why the heck did she come in here alone? Emma says. I was chasing her, Matthew says breathlessly. He glares at Erin's raised eyebrow. Not like that. She was upset because we had a stupid argument and she ran off. We need to find her. Maybe she just tripped, Charlotte says hopefully. I hope that she's right. Beatrix is one of the good ones, even if she is dating that idiot with the muscles. I hate the thought that something's happened to her. It's enough to push my own problems to the back of my mind, if only for a few minutes. Or whoever's behind Rose's ghost has got her, and based on the shit they've been pulling, I don't trust them not to hurt her, Matthew says. Rose is behind Rose's ghost, I say quietly. I'm trying to convince myself at this stage. If someone took her, they can't have gone far. Let's separate and find her, Erin says. Matthew nods and points shakily at a box. We brought some flashlights for the original game, so everyone grab one. We each take a flashlight and turn them on. The faint light isn't as comforting as I'd hoped. Wait, shouldn't we stick together? Emma says, eyeing the darkness nervously. Matthew ignores her. Charlotte and Emma, you're with me. Erin, Amber and Grayson, you go that way. He points into thick foliage, where there's barely a path. As if, Amber laughs. Erin and I will come with you, Matthew. Matthew's jaw hardens, but he gives a tight nod. Fine, he mutters. Emma, Charlotte, you go with Grayson. Seriously, Emma says, glaring at me. We get him. Charming. It's like being at elementary school again. Always the last to be picked for a team. Matthew jogs away with the Loves at his heels. That leaves me, Charlotte, and Emma. Don't worry, I say. I'm tougher than I look. Emma gives me a glare of disgust. Let's find Beatrix and get out of here, she says. What do you think's happened to her? Charlotte whispers, sticking close to me as we walk. She's probably fallen over a bush, Emma grumbles. I can't believe we're in here searching for her when... I glance at her. When what? Nothing, she mumbles, speeding up. Her eyes dart anxiously around. A distant scream makes us stop. I turn on the spot, sweeping my flashlight's insubstantial beam of light at my surroundings. Bushy trees have already risen to surround us. Among the overgrown foliage are a number of mostly obscured graves. Long woody creepers cling to tree trunks like tentacled monsters. Overhead, fine branches are skeletal fingers that reach down to scratch at my hair. It's creepy as fuck. Dead leaves feel squishy underfoot as we trip between shrubs left to grow wild. Small patches of sky are visible through the canopy, bleeding slashes of moonlight onto the ground. I see something on one of the long-abandoned graves. I bend down. It's a femur, glowing with an eerie light. I touch it with a shaky finger and realize it's not actually there. It's a projection via my smart glasses. The bone vanishes, and my score goes up by 5 points. Not fair, Charlotte says. You got there before I could. Seriously? Emma says. You still care about points? I care about Anton, she says. As I straighten, I notice that Emma's picked up a heavy branch to brandish as a weapon. I'm not sure what she thinks she might meet in here. Careful where you're waving that thing, I joke. She doesn't laugh, just tightens her fingers on the branch. You never know what you're going to find, she says quietly. And yet here you are, doing all of this for a school newspaper, I say, not meaning it to come out quite so sharply. And here you are, trying to prove yourself to your dead ex-girlfriend, she says. Therapy would be safer. Come on. I think Beatrix's scream came from over here. She rounds a corner and comes to a sudden halt. A ghost is drifting a few inches above the ground, like a cloak hanging on a peg. Its fiery eyes are closed, as if in suspended animation. Charlotte screams, then immediately claps a hand over her mouth. It's too late. I have enough time to glare at her before the ghost shudders and awakens, fixing those burning eyes right on us. Then it unhinges its jaw and launches itself with claw hands outstretched. Run! I yell. In retrospect, shouting wasn't the most sensible idea, because the noise summoned more ghosts. The three of us raced down the paths, ducking aside as slashing claws try to swipe at us. Every time Charlotte screams, more ghosts seem to join the chase. "Stop flipping screaming!" I say from between gritted teeth. "I can't help it," Charlotte sobs. "It's a reflex reaction." My heart beats so hard I can hear it. There's a visceral terror to being chased, even though the ghosts aren't real. I'm hating every second of it. But this game is my only link to Rose. I need to see her again. I need to hear what else she has to reveal about her murder. I'm so close. "Can't you exercise them, like before?" I gasp. "That's not how sleeping ghosts works. You have to outrun them for 2 minutes. So I run, uncoordinated limbs tangling, constantly on the verge of falling. Emma's faster than me, and Charlotte throws herself over tombstones and through bushes with a seemingly unstoppable determination. Soon, they've put several yards between me and them. They don't have to outrun the ghosts. They just have to outrun me. I'm forced to duck as another ghost lunges. I roll to the ground, kicking up stinky leaves and lumps of mulch. When I scramble to my feet, the 2 girls are gone, racing off into the trees. A ghost dives at me with its cloak streaming behind it. Smoke billows from its open mouth. I race under a stone archway with big Egyptian pillars on each side. I find myself on a curved path around a crescent-shaped row of mini stone houses. There's another ghost up ahead, so I move to double back, but that's a no-go too. I'm blocked in. All I can do is press myself into a dark, gaping doorway and stay as silent as possible. I figure I'm a goner, but then the ghosts slow down and vanish. I made it. Somehow. I push myself out of the doorway and, as quietly as possible, follow the path, taking more care to watch out for the ghosts. I haven't gone far, though, when my foot squelches in something. I shine my flashlight at the ground. The mud's wet, but I can't see where any water could have come from. Then I notice dark splashes up the pale stone wall next to me. Blood. There's so much of it, sprayed in long spurts across the bricks. My stomach churns as my mind conjures images of blood spreading across white tiles, so much of it that it trickles along the cracks. I lift my flashlight higher. Written above a doorway are the words, "Where was all the blood?" I stagger backward, nearly slipping on the mushy puddle. I want to believe it's a trick, that the blood's not real, but it smells like a butcher's shop, gamey and metallic. There's a trail of bloody handprints smeared onto the walls, as if someone was dragging themselves along. I follow the trail with my shaky flashlight beam. It leads down some stone steps, descending beneath an arched entrance. A metal gate stands slightly open. "Hello? Beatrix," I whisper, but no one answers. I creep down the steps. The handprints become less frequent. Through the archway, there's a long tunnel with little alcoves off to the sides. Each is full of square plaques, some of which are missing to reveal coffin-sized holes in the wall. It's a catacomb or a crypt. I'm not sure of the difference. Somewhere dead people are kept. I think about turning back, but I can't abandon Beatrix if she's in trouble. I advance slowly. A shuffling noise makes me pause. There's something hiding behind a brick pillar. Not a ghost. Whatever this is, I can hear it breathing. I creep closer. The breathing stops. They know I'm here. I freeze. I want to run away, but I'm too scared to move. Suddenly, a shape leaps out from behind the pillar. I stumble backward and fall. The figure screams, brandishing a chunk of rock like a weapon. There's so much blood. Thick red drips run down their face, and more is soaked into their clothes. Their hair, 2 long braids, is sodden. It takes me longer than it should to realize that it's Beatrix. "Whoa, whoa! It's me! Grayson!" I say. A message flashes on my lens. Winner, winner, winner. I'm briefly furious with Rose. The girl I knew would never play such a mean trick. Beatrix lowers the rock. "It's you," she whispers. Her chest is heaving. "I was so scared." "Who did this to you?" I take her hands, even though they're sticky and slippery. "Where's the blood coming from? Are you hurt?" How can she not be hurt? It doesn't make sense. "It's not my blood. I got a message with some coordinates, but when I got there, someone had rigged a bucket of blood to fall on my head. I panicked and hid down here because I didn't know what to do." Her voice cracks, and she starts to sob. "It's okay. I think the game's over." I help her sit against the wall and use my sleeve to wipe some of the blood from her face. There's so much that I can taste its bitterness in the air. "What's going on, Grayson?" she says. She's shivering. I push her soaking hair off her forehead. She rests her head against my chest, her temple against my sternum. I wonder if she can feel how fast my heart is beating. "There was a message on the wall. Where was all the blood?" "I guess you found it," I joke. She sits back and tilts her head so that her throat's exposed, the only clean part of her. "I found her, you know. The water was pale pink with her blood." I clench my teeth. I don't want to picture Rose dead, but I can't help it. "And Rose's ghost was right. I didn't call the police immediately. I didn't know what to do. So I went to find Matthew first. And that decision haunts me to this day, even though she was already dead, and I couldn't have helped her even if I'd called an ambulance right away." "What about the cleaning products?" I choke out. "You were seen carrying cleaning products that morning near the pool house." She fixes me with this hurt, surprised look. "I walked past the pool house, but I didn't go in. Anton got drunk and was sick in his studio, so I cleaned it up before anyone else saw. That's what I do. I take care of my mess of a brother night and day." She starts to cry, resting her forehead against her blood-soaked knees. "I'm sorry," I say. I put an arm around her shoulder, and she nestles into me. "I really wasn't accusing you. Tonight has been a lot." "I know," she says, her voice muffled. "I didn't mean to take it out on you. It's not your fault." I stretch my legs in front of me. The tunnel is so narrowed that I can almost touch the opposite side. "Why are they doing this?" Beatrix says, getting her tears under control, save for the occasional hiccup. "Revenge, I suppose." "You still think it's Rose, don't you?" I don't know how to answer that. Whoever it is, they were right. I was jealous of Rose. She sighs sadly. "God, it feels like they're taunting us, trying to humiliate us." I nod. I had the same thought. Only that doesn't sound like Rose. Either she came back different, or... No, I don't want to think about this. Beatrix shakes herself and fakes a businesslike expression. "We should find the others. Matthew won't be happy that I went off by myself. And look what happened." She gestures to her blood-soaked clothes. "It's hardly your fault." I doubt he'll see it that way. She sighs. "We had an argument." What about? Nothing important. I don't like the way he looks at Erin Love. I can't help but think there's something between them. Have you noticed that? I can't say that I have. You don't need to be jealous of Erin. I can feel my cheeks heating. Well, you're okay. She raises an eyebrow, smirking at me. That made me feel so much better. Beautiful. I meant to say beautiful. She bursts out laughing, both of us blushing furiously. That's high praise coming from the boy who dated Rose Tavistock. I remember we've not really spoken since Rose outed me with that horrific love letter. I'm sorry I lied to you. I'm not angry, she says quickly, but I'm slightly confused about why you're here. Revenge, I say truthfully. I wanted to ruin Anton's contest. It's not fair that he gets to start over when it was his world that got her killed. It was her world too, you know, she says, watching me closely for my response. I smile ruefully. When I met Rose, she had braces and frizzy hair, and her favourite thing in the world was reading. It was only after Anton got his hands on her that she changed. That's not how I remember her. She was always so confident and together the whole time I knew her. Every man she met fell at her feet. Her face suddenly darkens. I nudge her knee with mine. If it's any consolation, I literally just fell at your feet. In terror, admittedly, but it's something. You're ridiculous. She returns my smile, then narrows her eyes at me. But I'm pretty sure your girlfriend wouldn't approve? She says girlfriend like it's a question. I clear my throat. No girlfriend, I say. I don't know why, but it feels like a betrayal. Rose is dead. Even if it is her ghost, I need to accept that I'm never getting her back. I have to let her go. My whole body sags into the ground at the realization. Right then, the gate bangs open, and a flashlight beam finds us. I look away from Beatrix's gold-flecked eyes, in time to see Matthew standing in the tunnel. "What the hell have you done to my girlfriend?" he cries.
29. Charlotte. In all the panic, I dropped my flashlight, which sucks because this cemetery is full of seriously sharp branches, determined to gouge out my eyes and rip out my hair. It takes me 10 minutes to fight my way through the undergrowth, but I make it. There are slashes of light ahead, so I walk toward them. Voices reach me before I see anyone. Arguing voices. I skulk in the darkness and listen. It's Matthew and Beatrix. "Don't give me that rubbish," Beatrix says. "You're the one who should be feeling guilty, not me."
"Pretty sure it was you cozying up to Grayson in a dark tunnel. But whatever you say,"
Matthew snaps back. Beatrix and Grayson? I didn't see that coming. I was scared, and he was being nice. You, in comparison, haven't even asked if I'm okay.
"He's Rose's ex, the one she used to complain about. Remember that creepy as fuck song he wrote for her? How did it go?
Matthew, stop it.
Rose, I love you. You are my life. I'm so pathetic. I can't let you go," he croons. "Grayson is serious serial killer material."
I'm not talking to you when you're in this mood. There's the sound of breaking twigs as she moves through the trees. Matthew shouts after her.
"And yet again you're walking away from me. Perfect. Just perfect."
I'm covered head to toe in blood, Matthew. I need to change my clothes.
"And why are you covered in blood, Beatrix?"
he cries.
"No, let's talk about that, because you were pretty damn angry with me when I was being accused of murder. But when it's you, I'm supposed to accept that it's all lies." I didn't kill Rose. Neither did I. They go quiet for a long moment. An owl hoots in the distance. I think about leaving them to their bitter little tiff. It's not very nice to be spying on them, but, like a car crash, I can't look away. They're as bad as Mum and Dad right before they split. I always thought Matthew and Beatrix were the perfect couple. You seriously think it was me? Matthew finally says. You do nothing but lie to me, Beatrix snaps. Who were you meeting in that hotel when you were photographed in your underwear? How am I supposed to trust you when you refuse to tell me the truth? Nothing happened. Then tell me who you were with. Was it Erin Love? Because I've seen the way you look at her. Erin, don't be ridiculous. He starts to move again. Their voices get quieter as they storm through the cemetery, sniping at each other. I try to follow them, but it's kind of difficult without a flashlight. I trip over something big and hard, yelping as my toenail bends back. I steady myself on a tree. Matthew and Beatrix have gone quiet. What was that? Beatrix says. I don't know. Probably that bloody amateur reporter again. And now you've given her even more material to screw us with. Me? You're the one who... When she speaks again, her voice is small. And, yet again, I'm expected to grin and accept it. One of these days, I won't be able to hide your mistakes from the world, Matthew, and everyone will find out about the things you've done. What the hell does that mean? Beatrix starts crying. Her noisy sniffles are all I hear for a good few seconds. I'm sorry, Matthew says more gently. Let's not argue. Promise me, Beatrix sobs. Promise me that when Emma goes through her old photos from that party, she's not going to find pictures of you with Erin Love. Matthew doesn't answer right away. I'm getting sick of Emma's photos, he says at last. She's too nosy for her own good. Their footsteps move off. I go in the opposite direction before they catch me listening in on them, because that would be hard to explain. I catch a brief glimpse of another flashlight nearby, so I head for it. But it vanishes into the darkness, and I start to doubt it was ever there. I stumble onward with the light from the moon and my bracelet's faint glow to guide me. This part of the cemetery is so overgrown that it's become a jungle, with tombstones that tower over me and gnarly trees that look like evil monsters. I keep jumping at rustling sounds in the undergrowth. It's probably nocturnal rodents, but I can't help but think I hear footsteps creeping up behind me. I stop. The footsteps stop too. Maybe I was imagining them. I pick up the pace. A branch cracks. I spin around, but it's too dark to see anything but threatening trees surrounding me in all directions. I try to find the path again, but I've lost my bearings. I feel for a gap, but there are spiky hedges and low branches everywhere. Another branch breaks, and this time when I freeze, the footsteps don't stop. Someone is heading right for me. Crunch, crack, rustle. They're moving fast now, breaking into a run. I can hear their laboured breathing as they fight their way toward me. Brief flashes of their flashlight cut apart the darkness. I try to force a path through the hedge, but the old knotty wood refuses to yield. I drop to the ground and attempt to use my bracelet to light my way. I think I've found the path again, so I crawl as fast as I can. It ends in a tall statue of an angel. I pull myself up and run, but ivy tangles around my feet. Everywhere I turn, there are more tombstones and more trees. I can't see a way out. I trip over a rock and fall heavily. The footsteps are right on me now. The flashlight's weak beam skims across the dozens upon dozens of ancient headstones, crammed in together like rows of teeth. All I can do is lie there between them, whimpering and bruised, waiting for whoever it is to find me. Then there's a sound like stone scraping on stone, and a scream, and a loud cracking noise. Something falls right next to me, smashing old headstones, shaking the ground beneath me. Pebbles skitter, one strikes me on the leg, and then everything falls silent. Even the creatures in the bushes have stopped moving around. I push myself onto my knees.
There's a flashlight lying beyond the closest row of graves, and its beam shines past me, striking ivy-covered stone. I can't hear breathing anymore. I can't hear anything but my own heart thundering in my ears. I know that if I look beyond the graves, I'll see something I don't want to see. So I don't look. I just kneel there, waiting. I'm not sure how long I'm there for. Eventually, I hear crunching footsteps, followed by Matthew's voice. "Oh my God! Someone help!" he yells. "Matthew?" I stand up, trying to look only at him. Even still, I can't help but see pieces of smashed stone on the ground. One of the stone angels has fallen from its tomb and lies broken. A wing, a face, a pale arm speckled with blood. Matthew yelps and jumps away from me. "Charlotte, what happened?" He's joined by Grayson running toward the sound of our voices. He skids to a halt. He claps a hand over his mouth and turns away. Erin and Amber are close behind him. They're finally joined by Beatrix. She's changed into Anton merch from her van, a green hoodie and rainbow baseball cap. Everyone stands in a semicircle, with their flashlights lighting the fallen tombstone. "It's Emma," Matthew eventually says. I make myself look, but only for a second. It's enough time to see a trench coat soaked with dark blood. I look away again. Is she dead?" I say, which has to be the stupidest question in the history of questions. Of course she's dead. Grayson stoops next to the body. He touches his fingers gently to her neck, then snatches them away. His expression says it all. "Someone murdered her. I heard them push over the statue." I catch a glimpse of Emma again, and saliva floods my mouth. "We need to call the police." Grayson nods and stands. He pats his pockets. "I have a phone. Somewhere." Beatrix places a hand on his arm, stilling him. "No, please. Remember, or Anton dies." "Anton," I say quietly. "Beatrix is right. We can't call anyone." We silently stand there, staring down at Emma's crumpled body for what feels like forever. I watch the others. Grayson, his dark eyes wide and worried. Erin looking young and scared for the first time. Amber as expressionless and unreadable as a stone. Matthew fidgeting like he wants to run and keep on running. Beatrix, tears clearing tracks down her grubby cheeks. I'm hit by a thought. Someone killed Emma, and that someone has to be in this cemetery. What if Emma's killer is one of us? 30. Erin. "Where were you all when this happened?" Charlotte says, staring shrewdly at each of us in turn. The naive fangirl is gone, and in her place stands someone far steelier. Nobody answers her question. The wind whistles in the trees. It's cold and dark in the cemetery, like we've taken a wrong turn and left noisy, full-of-life London behind. Everyone but Charlotte is shivering. "According to the ghost, one of us is a murderer," Charlotte says firmly. "Someone killed Rose, and now the same person has killed Emma. Maybe Jessie too." "I thought you killed Jessie," Grayson says, crossing his arms. The sleeves of his sweater ride up to reveal his slim wrists dotted with goosebumps. His jaw quivers as he tries to stop his teeth from chattering. It's clear he's trying to look brave. "What?" Matthew takes a shaky step toward Charlotte. "You killed Jessie? What happened?" Charlotte winces. "I don't know what happened. Jessie may or may not have been on a swan boat with me, and I may or may not have kicked him. All I know for sure is that I washed up next to his body. I may have been mistaken about it being him in the water with me, or perhaps I am the killer. I don't think we can rule anyone out." "You can rule me out," Amber says. "Why would I want to kill Emma?" "To stop her from telling people about your financial problems and broken relationship with your daughter," Beatrix says. I'm not sure what I've missed, but Beatrix's hat-covered hair is dripping blood down her new hoodie. Amber makes a "so what" face. "All of you know about that," she says breezily. "Am I going to kill you all too?" Charlotte doesn't react. Emma noticed something in one of her photos from the night Rose died, but she didn't have time to tell us what it was. What if it involved Jessie? What if the killer murdered both Jessie and Emma because they could identify him or her as Rose's murderer? It's a good theory. I remember Emma saying she was going to look for Jessie in her photos from the party. Next thing we know, she's dead. Charlotte raises an eyebrow at Amber. You were at that party? Most of us were at that party, Amber says. Besides, she holds out gleaming talons, I got my nails done today. I wouldn't risk breaking one pushing a filthy statue onto someone. Everything else that comes out of her mouth may be a lie, but this I can believe. Charlotte turns her gaze to Grayson. Everyone here was at that party except you, she says. Where were you the night that Rose died? I was probably working at the ice cream shop, or at home, Grayson says, his voice still shaky. I've never even been to Anton's house. Amber raises an eyebrow. So you never dropped by to harass poor Rose? Sorry, I mean try to win her back? Those love letters confirmed everything I already knew about you. You don't know me, Grayson says coldly. But for some reason you have it in for me. I know enough. For all we know, Emma's photo would have incriminated you. She sniffs, then glances at Emma's body. Making a face, she gets out her phone to check her socials. Were you with Amber when Emma died? Charlotte asked me, but her voice is lacking the usual nastiness she likes to direct at me. At some point between the mannequin house and now, Charlotte and I have drifted into a truce of sorts. Never thought that would happen. We had an argument. I left her by herself. Amber's not a killer. The trees rustle. Isn't she? So you don't have an alibi either, then, Beatrix says, staring daggers at me. With the blood trickling down her face and onto her clothes, the effect is almost intimidating. You were at the party where Rose died. You knew about your mum's financial troubles and the photos. Speaking of which, did Emma manage to dig up those photos of you? Was she going to publish them? In her school paper? I fold my arms defiantly. I was 16. If Emma had tried to publish them, she would have been the one in the wrong, not me. I'm not ashamed of my past, or my body. This is a lie. I don't know what I would have done if those photos had come out. I think I'm safe now, though, and the relief is like fresh air. But the guilt at feeling this way is stifling. I clear my throat and lift my chin at Beatrix. It could have been you, too. You were jealous of Rose and angry that she knew the truth behind Matthew's so-called affair. Both Matthew and Amber look sharply at me. I'm not planning to drop them in it, though. Not my style. I didn't kill her, Beatrix says coldly. Matthew steps between us. Beatrix would never do anything like that. I swear Beatrix rolls her eyes. I'm beginning to wonder if we've been underestimating sweet, helpful little Beatrix. There's a bitter, vicious side to her that she keeps well hidden, except when she looks at me. What about you, Matthew? Charlotte says. You argued with Rose over those photos of you in your boxers, and you were the first person to arrive after Emma died. You must have been close by. He nods. I heard a noise and I ran over. He hesitates. You were already here. Didn't you see anything? No, Charlotte sighs. I was rolling in the bushes being a coward. It's kind of suspicious, Grayson says slowly, like he's not sure if he should speak. You're right. On paper, I'm a strong suspect. I hated Rose. I have no alibi for any of the murders, and I was literally on the scene of both Jessie's and Emma's deaths. You'd be right to suspect me, but I didn't do it, Charlotte says. We all fall silent. 6 suspects, all of us with reasons for wanting Rose dead. None of us able to prove where we were when both Jessie and Emma died. 7 suspects if we include Anton, whose life hangs in the balance if we can't identify the killer. Can't we talk about what we're going to do? Grayson says abruptly. About Emma? We can't leave her here. What about an anonymous call? Rose interrupts. Her avatar appears, bright against the darkness. My stomach pitches with guilt when I remember how she tried to protect me from Amber, and I was too angry and scared to see it. "We're nearly finished," she says quietly, slouching on one leg with her hands bunched in her sleeves. She seems fainter than before, so faint that she's almost colourless, apart from those red lips. "I've told you almost everything now. I'm sure you can figure out where our final showdown has to happen."
"The place where you died,"
Grayson says quietly. "The scene of the crime. Let's make things interesting, shall we? I'm going to tell you a bonus secret. The police missed something. There's a clue waiting for you to find it, behind one of the statues in the pool house." She vanishes.
"Wait,"
Grayson says, desperately reaching for her.
"Where are you going?"
"I'm sure she'll be back again," I say.
"Will she?"
He sweeps a hand through his crusty hair and stares at the space where she stood. There are tears in his eyes.
"What if that was the last time?"
"Let's finish this," Charlotte says. She picks up Emma's drop flashlight and sets off. I'm the last to leave. It feels wrong to leave Emma here, broken and alone. I want to tell her that I'm sorry, but the words don't come. I silently promise that we'll get her home and find her killer and make sure she's not forgotten. Then I walk away. Hampstead's Billionaires' Row goes on forever. It's a constant treadmill of impenetrable gates and security codes. Shiny cars in the driveways, tall hedges and sharp fences. These houses are home to royalty, art collectors and business people. Most are worth millions. We finally reach a gap in the perfection. Anton's house is set back from the road, behind a tall, prison-like wall. It stood empty since Rose's death, and the shine has washed off in the rain. Beyond the wall, the trees are wild and spindly. The keypad is hanging from frayed wires. The gate has been pushed open against a thick carpet of mulch and dead leaves. There's bright yellow paint on the edges of the metal. I spot Anton's Lamborghini sitting in the driveway, the door flung wide open, and deep scratches gouged along the side. This is where he came looking for the person behind the ghost. This is where they've been holding him. Our feet crunch on gravel as we approach the house. It's an overly grand modern building that's all straight lines and glass. The upstairs is surrounded almost entirely by windows. Anton turned half the first floor into a massive entertaining space. We filmed there many times, and then there were the parties. But I never liked it inside the house. Too many annoying people. The gardens were always more peaceful. They surround the house on 3 sides. The hedge maze is to the left. The studio, pool house, and various other outbuildings are to the right. Up against the rear of the house, there's a big patio and gardens, with lots of secluded nooks sheltered by topiary. I used to spend Anton's parties hiding somewhere I wouldn't be pestered. The front door is open, so we step inside. A huge chandelier glows brightly. It's a testament to how rich Anton is that he's continued to pay the household bills, despite no one actually living here. I doubt he even noticed. Everything remains as it must have been the night Rose died. The rugs and curtains are dusty. The tables are coated in grime. Pictures on the wall hang slightly wonky, but maybe they were always that way. What I remember most about this house is the excess. There were TVs and game consoles in almost every room. Unopened gifts from potential sponsors left lying around.
"Take a new phone when you leave,"
Anton would say.
"I've got dozens."
Amber would take 2 and sell them on eBay. "I'm going to powder my nose," Amber says, bringing me back to the here and now. She clicks her fingers. "Erin, come on." "What? No. It's like you don't even listen to me." "Oh," she says mockingly. "Whatever." Her heels click off across the hall, and for a second I want to run up behind her and shove her as hard as I can. I hate myself for my temper. "I'm going to look in the gardens," I say abruptly. "Call me if anyone finds Anton, or Rose." Before they can protest, I leave the rest of them in the house and circle the outside of the building to reach the gardens. Everything is the same as before, but different. The hedge maze is so overgrown I can't see the entrance. Long branches reach upward and outward from the once neat firs like 100 grabbing arms. The topiary, breaking the patio up into discrete areas, has metamorphosed into monsters. I notice that there's a light on inside Anton's office, where he used to edit his content and film his gaming play-alongs. I push open the door. The place is a real mess. Otherwise, it's similar to the space my mother and I used to record our videos. Our studio is set up like a cosy bedroom. Anton's is more of a gamer's den. At one end of the room, there's a green screen surrounded by lights that look like umbrellas coated with reflective material. A camera stands on a tripod watching the empty space. On a desk with a racing car bucket seat, there's a computer and gaming equipment, plus small cameras pointing at the seat. The fan on a computer softly whirs, and the desk is lit by the blue glow from inside the computer's transparent case. I push the mouse, and the screen flares into life. Someone's been here. Recently. "Is this where you were broadcasting from?" I say out loud. It makes sense. I've used face replacement software plenty of times for a laugh. You can make it look like you're a member of your favourite band or a character in a movie. With a high-end computer and no morals, you can even superimpose faces onto porn stars. Or clone someone's real voice if you have a recording of them. I imagine Rose's ghost was created by filming someone in front of the green screen, then replacing their face with a computer-rendered version of hers. That would explain why the avatar had a slightly unnatural feel to it, and why her voice wasn't quite right. I can remember Anton using a similar technique to make his Shadow City ghosts move like real people. I say Anton, but of course I mean his team, because that's something I learned about Anton when I collaborated with him. He has the big ideas, but he's too lazy to do the boring work. He employs others to do that. This means that dozens upon dozens of people knew his passwords. He always kept them taped to the side of the computer in case he forgot. Amber and I knew his passwords. I doubt he's changed any of them. Like I said, lazy. From this office and these computers, whoever was behind the ghost could have accessed the servers used to host both Shadow City and Anton's game of tag. They could have uploaded their recordings of Rose and changed the programming to take control of the game right under Anton's nose. By the time he realised, it would have been too late. Which would have been why he came here, looking for whoever it was who'd brought Rose back from the grave. I head into an adjoining space. It's a storeroom full of camera and sound equipment and props from Anton's old videos. There's a box in the middle of the room, and on top of it is a photograph. It's a picture of Anton's team. Anton's in the middle, of course, his mouth wide in an over-the-top smile shout that reveals all his teeth. On one side, Matthew and Beatrix stand, arms linked. Matthew is grinning down at Beatrix. Beatrix is sticking out her tongue. On Anton's other side is Rose. She's looking straight into the camera, a faint smirk on her lips. Around them are more than a dozen members of the staff, from camera people to the general drudges who arrange stuff like meals and tidied up after the accomplices. Jesse's there, on the sidelines like he doesn't quite belong. I feel a pang, but it doesn't hurt as much as it should. Someone paid him to set this up. One of these people in the photograph, I think. It was left here for a reason. That's when I spot another familiar face standing among the behind-the-cameras crew. Suddenly, I know who is pretending to be Rose's ghost. What I don't understand is why. "Who are you really?" I say.
31. Grayson. While the others split up to look for Anton and Rose, I sneak outside alone. I head straight for the outbuildings next to the patio area. Most of them are empty, but one of the doors leads into a musty building that smells wrong. The hairs on the back of my neck prickle, and my heart picks up its pace. I fumble for the light switch, and a couple of dirty spotlights come on. This is the pool house. This is where Rose died. It's been left to go to ruin, like the rest of the estate. The glass is green with algae and mostly opaque. The pool still contains water and has turned into a thick, shallow swamp. That's what I smelled, stagnant and fetid water. Around the edge of the pool there are several statues of women. They remind me of the tombstones in the cemetery, except these don't have wings. They're also not as old, although one has a missing arm and a damaged face. I circle the edge of the pool. For nearly a year, I've done nothing but picture this place, my imagination running wild, blood trickling between the white tiles, dripping into the water, Rose lying there dead. I try to push the thoughts away, but they always come back. I stop by the damaged statue. I look behind it, searching for the clue that the ghost told us about. It's hard to imagine anything useful remains after all this time. A movement makes me spin around. It's Beatrix, a startled deer in headlights. Too late. She hides her hands. But I've already seen that she's wearing disposable gloves. Wow. You came prepared? I say.
It's not what it looks like. I didn't want to disturb anything.
She wrings her hands together behind her back. The plastic of the gloves squeaks. Dressed in blood-stained Anton merch, she looks like a deranged groupie. Where was all the blood? That's what the ghost meant when she asked where all the blood was, I say, finally understanding. You really did clean away the evidence, so Rose's death would look like an accident. She didn't die in the pool, but you made it seem like she did. She backs away from me.
She hit her head falling into the pool. She drowned.
That's what the inquest said. It was the obvious conclusion. A teenager at a party rife with drugs and alcohol, drugs in her own system, a late-night swim gone wrong. There was no evidence of foul play. You made sure of that. She shakes her head, but it looks like it's an effort. Her eyes flick to the damaged statue, then to a crack in the tiles where a heavy object clearly landed.
That's where she died, I say, barely able to get the words out. The statue fell on her, just like Emma. There would have been a lot of blood.
Her hands fall limp at her sides.
The statue couldn't have fallen by itself. It had to have been pushed. I couldn't leave it on the ground. I couldn't leave her lying there, or everyone would have known it was murder.
Why? I say quietly.
I didn't kill her, I swear. I just found her body. Grayson, you have to believe me.
I don't say anything.
I saw that the light was on in the early hours of the morning, so I came in. And she was dead. The statue was lying next to her. It had hit her on the head, and there was so much blood. But otherwise she was perfect. Even in death she was perfect.
She sits against the wall and rests her head in her hands. When she speaks, her voice is muffled.
I dragged her into the pool and cleaned up. The killer had left footprints in the blood. I made it look like Rose must have hit her head on the edge of the pool steps as she fell. Like it was an accident.
And everyone believed it?
Not everyone. Some of the crew who'd been close to Rose thought there was more to it. But the ones who mattered, the police, the coroner, the press, they accepted the story. No one questioned the damaged statue. I don't know how, but we got away with it.
We, I say, frowning.
At that moment, someone else appears through the door.
Matthew stops abruptly when he sees the two of us. The final piece of the puzzle slots into place.
You were protecting Matthew, I say. He's the reason you staged the scene to look like an accident.
What's he talking about, B? Matthew says, his voice shaky. She looks up at him, tears running down her face. "There were footprints," she sobs. "A man's footprints. They would have figured it out." "What?" Matthew says. His handsome face has gone slack and grey. "She was covering for you," I say, a nervous laugh escaping my mouth. "She staged Rose's crime scene, so you wouldn't get the blame." "You genuinely thought that I killed Rose?" he chokes out. "You'd been at each other's throats for weeks. Then I saw you arguing with her at the party," Beatrix says. "A few hours later she was dead." Matthew's mouth falls open. "And you presumed I killed her? Our friend?" "Someone killed her. A murder investigation could have ruined Anton. As it was, Rose's death nearly destroyed everything, but he could come back from an accident." "You tampered with a crime scene to protect the channel." Matthew gapes at her, unable to do anything but ask increasingly panicked questions. I'd feel sorry for him if he weren't such a jerk. "You and Anton were everything to me. I was trying to save us. All I wanted was for things to be how they were before Rose joined the accomplices." She stands up shakily. "But it was too late. The damage was already done. Only, you're always so busy being the wonderful Matthew Bright that you don't realize we're only going through the motions of being in love." "What?" Matthew says. "Our relationship is over, Matthew. It has been for a long time. It just took me meeting Grayson to realize that." "Oh. Oh dear." She gazes at me with such desperate hope on her face, and all I can do is open and shut my mouth like a suffocating fish. This is not good. There's flirting, and there's breaking up someone's relationship. I don't want to be that guy. "I'm sorry," she says. And now she's talking to me, not him. "I know that you loved Rose, but I'm so sorry I lied about her death." Him?" Matthew says. For the first time in the competition, he actually looks at me. Like, really looks at me, instead of letting his gaze skim over me like I'm nothing. He finally finds his voice. "You son of a bitch!" "Whoa, time out!" I duck aside as Matthew lunges at me. "This is between you and Beatrix. I'm an innocent party." "You cowardly fuck!" He grabs me by the collar and shakes me. "It's not enough that you spent months creeping on Rose after she dumped you. You had to mess with my girlfriend." "I didn't creep on anyone. Rose hated you," he snarls. "She'd tell us stories about her idiot ex. That's what she called you. She played us the song you wrote her, and we all had a good laugh." "Don't you dare!" I cry, suddenly filled with the kind of rage that makes you do incredibly stupid things without thinking. I swing a punch with everything I have. I miss and fall against him. We both plummet into the pool. The water's less than 2 feet deep, so I hit the bottom hard. The filthy soup gets in my mouth and my nose, and it smells like death. My hands tangle themselves in Matthew's clothes. I grab at wet fabric. My fingernails scrape against his skin. He's trying to yell, but I drag him down, pushing him against the slippery floor of the pool. All I can think about is Rose mocking me to her accomplice friends, to the people she left me to be with, the people who changed her beyond recognition into someone who no longer needed me. I want to pin him down until he's forced to take a breath of the thick, poisoned water. I want to punch him until he breaks into 1,000 pieces. Beatrix is screaming from the side of the pool, but I can't hear her over the sound of my blood rushing in my ears. Matthew manages to wriggle free of my grip. He bursts, gasping above the surface. He lands a punch on my chin, and I skid on a thick layer of slime, going under again. What in the name? All the noise must have alerted Erin as she bursts into the building. She holds her nose with a manicured hand. I manage to stand up, clinging to the side of the pool. I'm gasping and coughing too much to speak. He tried to drown me, Matthew says, spitting dirty water. I scramble out of the pool, dragging myself on my belly across the tiles. I stagger to my feet and try to compose myself. Got to smile and laugh at myself, because that's what I do. I'm the harmless goof without a clue. That's what people expect from me. But I can't do it anymore. I'm too broken inside. Can someone explain what this is all about? Erin says. It's none of your business, Beatrix says. Matthew and I glare at each other, our chests heaving. Beatrix crosses her arms and glares at Erin. All right, Erin says brightly. Good chat. In other news, I found the equipment used to fake Rose's ghost. Nothing's been real. This whole game has been about getting justice for Rose. The secrets, the tricks, the pantomime. The question is, has it worked? She looks at me. I hold her stare. The corner of her mouth quirks in an almost smile. We still don't know who the killer is, Matthew says. Because it's not me. Erin nods, then waves a photo at us all. I can't see who it's of, though. I think I know how to clear this up. Where are Amber and Charlotte? I'll check in the house, Beatrix says. She pushes past us all to leave first, and carefully avoids looking at either Matthew or me. Her cheeks are bright red. You three take the gardens, maze, and outbuildings. As we leave the pool house, Erin catches my arm. What were you doing in here? She says. I shrug. Following the clues? The ghost... I force an embarrassed laugh. I mean, whoever is pretending to be a ghost said that we'd find a clue at the scene of the crime. Something that everyone else overlooked. You found this building very easily, she says. Almost like you'd been here before. Idiot's luck, I guess, I say. She points at me with a long, sharp nail, smiling like we're best friends. You're not half as much of an idiot as you pretend to be, Grayson. Only, I don't think she means it as a compliment.
32. Charlotte. In my heart, I know where I'll find him. I cross the lawn, flashlight in my hand, with the damp grass tickling my ankles. The hedge maze looms before me. I don't hesitate. It's instantly another world. The firs have become so unruly that it's hard to see the numerous paths. I try to picture the route Anton took when he led me to the summer house. But it's too dark, and within seconds, I'm lost. Anton, I call. It's me, Charlotte. Where are you? I hear the rustling of creatures unused to human presence. The hedge's spiky needles scratch my face, and exposed roots snake out of the mud to grab at my feet. I want to conjure the remembered magic of this place, but the fairy lights that once lit the paths are nothing more than frayed wires after all this time, and the moonlight makes twisted monsters of the shadows. I hear footsteps somewhere nearby. Light, tentative footsteps. I spin around. Anton! There's no reply. I walk on, listening carefully. The footsteps come again. I speed up. Left, right, right, left. I think I'll be trapped here forever, running along these narrow passageways, searching for something that doesn't exist anymore. But then, all of a sudden, I burst out into the open area at the centre of the maze. The summer house stands surrounded by tall grass. It's bigger than the house I share with my mother and Roger, with an octagonal shape and 2 stories, each encased by huge panes of glass. There's a covered patio area at the front that doubles as a balcony terrace on the 2nd floor. But where before the wood was once fresh and clean, the boards are now warped and green with algae. The windows are clouded with dirt. There's no sign of life. I slip through the open door. "Hello?" I call. It smells musty, of damp furniture and mouldy carpets. Rain and dead leaves have blown in, and everything is coated in a layer of grime and abandonment. I sit on the red-lip sofa where we slept. The fabric squelches, and my seat instantly feels wet. This place has been at the centre of my daydreams for so long. My fantasies have brought me here a million times, wrapping me up in the comforting memories of falling asleep with Anton at my side. But it's nothing like I remember. Everything's coming crashing down around me, as if my entire relationship with Anton has been built on shaky foundations, on a lie. There's a noise upstairs, like creaking floorboards, a muffled shuffling sound. I get up with a wet sucking noise as the sofa releases me. I tentatively creep up the stairs. The upper level of the house is empty apart from a beanbag, a large metal fridge that stands with the door open, and dozens of bottles scattered across the floor. I'm about to go back down when suddenly there's a cry, and a person launches themselves out from behind the fridge door. It's Anton, a bottle clutched in his hand like a weapon. With a yelp, I dive aside, flattening myself on the floor. Anton stumbles and flies headfirst down the stairs. He bounces off every step, his limbs flailing like a rag doll. He lands in a disordered pile, and the bottle rolls from his hand. "Anton! Oh my goodness!" I cry, racing downstairs. If I've killed him after everything, I don't know what I'll do. He's alive. He hauls himself into a sitting position and sits slumped. God, I hope he doesn't have a head injury. I can't see any blood or obvious wounds, but his gaze is unfocused. "Anton," I say, "are you all right?" He burps loudly, and I catch the whiff of alcohol. He's not injured. He's drunk.
"Who are you?"
He slurs. His purple-streaked hair sticks up in every direction, and there's a graze on his stubbled jaw. "It's me, Charlotte," I say. He blinks at me. "Matthew's stepsister?"
"Oh, right. Charlotte."
He laughs, but it also could be a sob. "What are you doing here?" I say. "I thought you'd been kidnapped." He shushes me dramatically.
"I escaped, and now I'm hiding from the ghost who ruined my entire life. I figured no one would find me here, but you're here, so—"
"Of course I'm here," I laugh. "This is where we had our moment." He frowns in thought.
"We did?"
My heart sinks. He's drunk, I tell myself. That's why he doesn't seem to remember me. He's been through a lot, but at heart he's still my perfect, lovely Anton. Then I'm hit by an awful smell. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think he's farted.
"I'll tell you a secret,"
he whispers, leaning close to my face and breathing fumes over me.
"I've had a lot of moments in this house."
My cheeks burn hot, and my blood turns to sand. "Oh, right." I pull myself together. The important thing is that Anton is alive. "You know, maybe we should get out of here and find the others. Everyone will be glad you're safe."
"Safe?"
He makes a disgusted face.
"My game's ruined, and my reputation is in pieces. All thanks to Rose. You'd think she'd be content with fucking up my life once, but she couldn't stay dead, could she?"
"I'm sure everything will work out okay," I say, brushing a strand of purple hair away from his forehead. He gawks at me, like I'm the one burping and farting noxious gases all over the place. I get to my feet and shield my nose, hoping to protect at least some of my affection for him against the stinky onslaught. "Unless you're the one who killed Rose," I joke, forcing a laugh. He doesn't join in.
"That bitch deserved to die," he snarls. Fuck her! You hear that, Rose? Fuck you! I back up nervously. This isn't right. My daydreams have collided with reality, and as hard as I try to hold on to the fantasy, it doesn't fit. Anton isn't who I thought he was. I've been deluding myself. I don't know him at all. Suddenly, I'm wondering what he's really been doing for this entire game. Was the kidnapping part even real, or part of a ruse to cover up the fact that he's a murderer? Where were you when Rose died? I whisper. His angry expression snaps into a smile, a nasty smile. Wasn't I with you? Having a moment? Pretty sure that's what went on the police report. No, I say, my voice shaky and overly prim. You were here with me until 12 at the latest. Are you sure about that, Charlotte? Beneath the drunken slurring, his voice has the same viciousness as it did in the video where he threatened Rose. I made you, and I can end you just as easily. I back away as he rises to his feet. He's taller than the boy in my fantasies, and his chest is broader. Not a boy, a grown man. I don't think I'd fit in his arms. I'd be smothered. He staggers toward me. I think I was with you all night long. Where else would I have been? Smashing Rose's brains out in the swimming pool? I reach the door, then I squeeze outside and run. I'm joking, Anton yells after me. Probably. Come back. I ignore him and race into the maze. Sobs threaten to burst out of me. What have I done? Anton's been my everything for so long, and I don't know who I am anymore. I run and run, making no attempt to navigate the maze. I let it swallow me up with its dead ends and twisting pathways. I want to lose myself forever. I trip on a root and fall heavily. Pain ripples through my jarred knees and shoulder. I lie on the cold ground, hiccuping so hard I can't breathe. I figure I'll stay here and let the bushes grow over me until I'm part of them. There's nothing left for me anymore. Everything is gone. Suddenly, I can see my relationship with Anton from the outside, and I'm so embarrassed for myself. He never liked me. I'd see him at the parties Matthew invited me to, and I'd take every smile and smirk as a hint that he shared my feelings. But all along he was laughing at me, and when he took me to the summer house that night, it wasn't because he was finally ready to be with me. It was probably to annoy Matthew. Matthew was never trying to get in the way of true love when he refused to pass my messages on to Anton. He was trying to stop me from making a fool out of myself. I'm a joke to Anton, and nothing more. Well, I was something more. I was his alibi. All my daydreams shatter like glass. They fall around me, mocking me with glimpses of my own desperation and obsession. The Anton in my fantasies wasn't real, and I think, deep down, I knew. That's why none of my stories end with a happily ever after. I'm always gladly dying to save him, because that means I never have to face up to the reality of getting to know the real him. The tears flood out of me, and I can't stop them, so I lie there with my cheek against the dirt, salty tears and snot running into my mouth. And it's not only Anton I'm crying over. It's my dad, leaving to start a new family and forgetting me. It's my mum, so wrapped up in planning her wedding to Roger that she has no time for me. It's Matthew, leaving to live with Anton, just when I'd started to come around to the idea of having a brother. Everyone leaves me. No one wants me. I don't know how long I cry for. Long enough that my stomach muscles ache from twisting themselves into knots, and my throat burns from the racking breaths. But eventually, the real world comes rushing back with a piercing scream. My tears stop. I sit up. The scream came from somewhere nearby, a neighbouring path in the maze, so close but unreachable through these thick hedges. I hear footsteps, stumbling and slow. Laboured gurgles reach me from the opposite side of the bushes. No, please, someone gasps. Oh no, 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 no!
I claw at the branches. I try to pull them apart to get to the person on the other side. Stop! I yell. Stop! There's another scream, short and knife-sharp. The hedge shakes like someone's fallen against it. There's a heavy thud, and then silence. I shine my flashlight into the bare branches at the base of the hedge. There's something there, but I can't quite see. I shift position, and that's when I see her hair. Bright orange hair, soaked with blood. 33. Erin. I'm running through the maze toward the sound of screaming, when the screams stop. I skid around corner after corner, so close but so far away. Then I turn, and it's me. I'm lying dead in the dirt, my hair dishevelled and mud on my face, ruining my perfect makeup. My top's ripped, and my clothes are covered in twigs and leaves. There's blood everywhere. I can't stop staring at the blood on my face and my throat and my chest. Except it's not me. It's someone who looks exactly like me, in the dark at least. Erin! Charlotte races around the corner and skids to a halt when she sees my mother. She rushes over and takes me by the hands. Don't look, Erin. Don't look. Is she gone? I say. I pull my hands free from Charlotte's and kneel next to Amber. I don't need to check for a pulse. I can see that she's dead. My flashlight illuminates her blood-spattered face. She'd hate people seeing her like this, so unposed and messy. An ugly laugh bubbles up inside me, but I stop it before it can escape. Charlotte touches my shoulder. The killer could still be here. Her eyes search the bushes. Let's get to the house. I nod, but I can't stop staring at Amber. Come on. Charlotte pulls me to my feet. I let her lead me, but I keep looking back at Amber. Less than an hour ago, she was taking selfies outside the cemetery. I start laughing, and this time I can't stop. Look at her, I say. All that effort to be beautiful, and at the end of the day, she's just me. I'm so sorry, Erin. Don't be, I say, my voice reedy and harsh. It's not like I liked her, is it? So why would I be upset? Because she's your mother? I slam the door on the conflicting emotions churning inside me and give Charlotte a businesslike smile. She wasn't much of a mother. But... I cut her off with a raised hand. Don't. I don't think Charlotte knows what else to say, so she keeps quiet, which suits me fine. I've got enough voices fighting to be heard in my head. The one that tells me I should be crying, the one that thinks I should celebrate, the one that is confused, the one that's irrationally, incandescently angry, angry with Amber and myself and whoever did this to her. The others meet us on the patio, appearing from 3 different directions. What's going on? Grayson says breathlessly. He's dressed in a bathrobe from the pool house after his dip in the filthy water. I heard screaming. It was Amber, I say. She's dead. Dead? Beatrix repeats. Her braids are stiff with dried blood and her hoodie stained. Oh my God, what's happening? We have to call the police, Matthew says. This has gone too far. What about Anton? Beatrix says. My brother's missing, and if Rose... Don't feel bad for Anton, says Charlotte, glancing over her shoulder. He's fine, but I think he might be the one we have to worry about. Anton? You think he killed my mother? I say. He wouldn't, Beatrix says. Let's get inside where it's safe, Matthew says. Then we'll call for help. We go inside the house via the patio doors, into the open-plan kitchen with its black marble floors and snow-white countertops. There are bottles lying around the place from the party. It's like Anton and his friends simply left after Rose's death and could never bring themselves to come back. I wrinkle my nose. The air smells weird, staleness mixed with something sulphurous, like rotting eggs. I've always been sensitive to smells. Matthew closes the door behind him. He pats his pockets. I notice that, like Grayson, he's changed out of his wet clothes into Anton merch he must have found in the house. Damn! Does anyone have a phone on them? No battery, I say flatly. Beatrix and Charlotte shake their heads too. I'm about to ask Grayson what happened to the phone Lenny gave him when there's a pounding on the door. We all jump. Beatrix tentatively peers out through the glass into the dark garden. Anton!
Anton!
Grayson repeats, his jaw tightening. Beatrix goes to unlock the door, but Charlotte stops her. Wait. He was saying some pretty unhinged stuff earlier. We can't leave him out there. Matthew hesitates.
Let him in. We can outnumber him if we have to.
Beatrix opens the door. Anton staggers inside and bounces off the units, grabbing at the shiny white surface to keep his balance. His hands leave behind smeared red prints. Is that blood? Beatrix says, backing away. Anton blinks down at his hands, both of them sticky. Then he points outside.
There's a dead person in the maze. Someone should clean that up.
Before any of us can react, his eyes roll into his head, and he slides to the ground. He immediately starts snoring. That's my mother he was talking about, I say. Matthew fixes me with the saddest look.
He's really drunk, and an asshole.
Thanks for the clarification, I say in a voice that doesn't sound like mine. I feel numb, like I'm watching a movie, not real life. My hands are shaking. There's a sudden buzzing sound, followed by a voice.
Now that we're all together, let's finish this game, shall we?
Rose's ghost says. We all look around. There must be speakers in the walls.
I know who you are, and you're not Rose,
Anton slurs, briefly waking from his vodka nap. He waves an arm around, pointing, then falls still again.
That's because Rose is dead,
the voice says, only it has changed. She's no longer using the voice disguiser that made her sound like an otherworldly Rose. Instead, she spits out the words like they taste bitter. Grayson drags a hand through his wet hair, leaving tracks behind.
Shit,
he says quietly.
All of you killed her,
the voice continues, full of anger and hatred.
All of you are guilty.
Who is it? Charlotte whispers.
I loved her, and you killed her,
the voice says, cracking with emotion.
All of you treated her like she was nothing, caring more about yourselves. But who was it who struck the final blow? Who shoved over that statue that broke her skull? Who is that?
Matthew says.
I recognise her voice.
I don't answer, even though I know. I'm too tired and the words won't come.
A royal pain in the butt, that's who,
Anton grumbles.
Anton, all she ever was to you was a way to make money,
the voice says.
You were happy to use her ideas and her image, even faking a relationship with her. But when she wanted to leave the accomplices, you turned on her. After she died, it was the damage to your empire that mattered to you. She died at your party, and you spent a fortune on lawyers to protect yourself.
On the floor, Anton raises a fist in the air.
And Matthew, you always went along with everything Anton wanted. You let him bully his staff and intimidate Rose, and you did nothing but protect your own interests. Rose knew that you kissed Amber, and it put her in an impossible position. When she pleaded with you to tell Beatrix the truth, you threatened her.
Amber? Beatrix spits. Matthew shakes his head, his eyes glistening.
Little Beatrix, the voice snarls. You pretended to be Rose's friend when secretly you were jealous of her and wanted her out of the accomplices. You knew she was murdered, and you denied her justice.
I was trying to help, Beatrix pleads.
You gravitated toward her ex-boyfriend in this competition. Is that because you wanted something that belonged to her?
Beatrix's tear-filled eyes flick across the room to Grayson. He's lurking in a corner, his hairy legs poking out from the bottom of his robe. He won't even meet Beatrix's stare.
Do you have anything to say, Grayson?
The voice continues. Grayson shakes his head and glances up. He's crying, I realise.
All that mattered to you were your own feelings. Even when Rose told you she didn't want to be with you, you refused to respect her choice. You pestered her with letters and calls. You made her feel unsafe. I wanted her to listen to me, he whispers. It's all about you, isn't it? Even entering this competition wasn't about Rose. It was you needing to blame someone for her leaving you, because you couldn't accept that it was her choice. It had to have been Anton leading her astray. It was, Grayson cries. It was his fault. Save it, the voice says. I have 2 suspects left. Let's talk to Charlotte, shall we? You hated Rose because she was everything you wanted to be. When she humiliated you at the party, you took your online trolling to a new level and posted a death threat aimed at her. I know, Charlotte says softly. I'm so sorry. The voice goes quiet for a second. Then she's back. Last but not least, Erin Love. Angry, fake, desperate Erin Love. Rose tried to help you, and you threw it all in her face. You would have done anything to protect your awful lying mother, and look where it got you. My mother is dead, I say through gritted teeth. The numbness is starting to give way into anger now. The ghost hesitates again. A lot of people are dead. Because of you, I say. I never killed anyone, she yells. It sounds like she's crying. But here's another secret. I don't care anymore. You're all as bad as each other. So, let's play one more game, and then you can all die. There's a loud clunking sound, followed by quieter clunks. Matthew throws himself at the door and yanks on it. Shit! She's activated the lockdown protocol. No! Beatrix gasps. The what? Grayson says. The house was built by the super-paranoid prince, Beatrix explains. He was convinced everyone wanted him dead, so he had the windows in the house glazed with bulletproof glass and installed internal deadlocks on all the doors and windows. Once the security lockdown is activated, the house is virtually impenetrable, Matthew says. The only way to open it is with the remote. Which is where? I say. She has it, Anton slurs. He laughs, then falls asleep again. Who is she? Why do I recognise her voice? Matthew says. I don't understand. I remember the photo I took from the office. I silently pass it to Matthew. I glance at Grayson, who holds my stare without emotion. Matthew looks between the faces in the picture, then stops. I can't believe I didn't think of... He doesn't get to finish because, at that moment, the lights go out. Here's a game, the voice says. I have one final secret to reveal. Emma Sarno's final secret. The reason both she and Jessie were murdered. She was at that party where Rose died, taking photos, and one of her photos caught Jessie talking to our killer. She sent this photo to the Anton HQ number earlier tonight, hoping that it would reach me. And it did. Emma was thrown out of the party hours before Rose died, Matthew says. How's it possible that she photographed the killer? Just show us already, Charlotte shouts. Stop playing these stupid games. The voice laughs. I'm hiding somewhere in this house, along with the remote and the photo. Come find me, and it's yours. But watch your backs. One of you is a murderer. Thumping dance music blares out from the hidden speakers, so loud that I can hardly hear myself think. Coloured lights flash on and off, blindingly bright to pitch black. I see flashes of the others, their movements made jerky by the strobing lights like something out of a horror movie. Game on, the voice bellows. It's time to play.
34. Grayson. I would know Lenny's voice anywhere. But it turns out that I don't know Lenny. The reason she never wanted to talk about her past wasn't because she's a private person. It was because our friendship's been a lie, a con, a trap. She used to work with Anton, behind the scenes, coding his games. She knew Rose, was friends with Rose, loved Rose. She's the one who's been revealing all those secrets and playing all those games, outing the suspects, trying to force Rose's killer to give themselves away. And now that she has Emma's photo and claims to have discovered the truth, she's turned against the lot of us. I should have figured it out sooner, but I was in denial. All the clues were there, though. She's at college studying AI design, for God's sake. How did I not suspect her? I can't help but wonder if she sought me out on purpose, coming into the ice cream shop and striking up conversations. Was she trying to find out if I killed Rose? Did she suspect me all this time? She must have, or she wouldn't have included me tonight. But then I think about what she said to me this morning while I waited for Beatrix to appear with my equipment. Just remember that I'm rooting for you. There was something both sad and hopeful in her voice, like she genuinely wanted me to pass these impossible tests of hers and make it out the other end. I don't know if I am going to make it out. I need to think, but this goddamn music is so loud, turning my brain to porridge. I have to find her. I need that remote. I stumble out of the kitchen into the hall, not caring what any of the others do. I'll deal with them later. "Where are you?" I scream, but my voice is lost to the noise. My fingers find the polished banister, curving up the wide flight of stairs to the upper floor. I climb, tripping on the steps as I go. My spiraling thoughts question our entire friendship. All the time she encouraged me to talk about Rose. All the questions she asked me. I can't believe she'd do this. I can't fucking believe it. "Lenny!" I cry. "Come out!" I feel my way across the landing and find a door. It opens into a big entertainment room bathed in moonlight. I can see again, and the music is quieter in here, so I can finally hear myself think. Okay, I need a plan. I don't have a plan. Where would she be? Where would she be? I need to find her. I need to get out of this house. The room runs the length of the house with an entire wall of glass looking out over the gardens. From the outside, it's always reminded me of a rooftop restaurant. Finally seeing it from the inside, I realize it's mostly empty except for a few pinball and arcade machines and a bar in the corner, still fully stocked. I don't usually drink, but for some reason it feels like a good idea to calm my panic. I pour myself a glass of clear liquid, vodka. It burns all the way down. As I lower the glass, I see a figure appear in the doorway. I think it's Amber's ghost for a second, but it's Erin. They're almost impossible to tell apart in the near dark. "Grayson," she says, shoes tapping as she approaches. Her face is haunted, eyes hooded, skin pale, lips deep and swollen. It makes her look tragically beautiful. "Any luck finding your little friend?" So she figured it out. Of course she did. "Nah, but I did find a bar," I say. She pulls herself up onto a stool. She eyes me suspiciously, then pushes a photo across the bar. It's of Anton's team. Lenny is standing near the back. "When did you realize the ghost was her?" she asks. "About 10 minutes ago, when I heard her voice. Although I started suspecting something when I discovered she knew Jessie." I don't like how she's looking at me, so I busy myself pouring us both a drink. She runs a finger around the rim of hers, but doesn't swallow it. "She sought me out a few weeks after Rose died, you know. Started turning up at the ice cream shop where I worked. I guess she was scoping me out." I shake my head and sigh. It suddenly makes sense why she was helping me with the game. You were always going to be at the top of the board. as was Charlotte, but I'd have been knocked out within minutes, and that wouldn't have fit with her plans. Erin picks up her glass and swirls it. She must have been planning this for a while, researching Rose's case, compiling her suspects, setting up this whole takeover in a last desperate attempt to discover the truth. She puts the glass down and pushes it away. About that, I have a theory. Oh? I watch her over the rim of my glass, the smell of the alcohol sharp and eye-watering. Whoever killed Rose was seen by Jessie that night, somewhere they weren't supposed to be. Jessie didn't think anything of it until he saw them taking part in the game and began to get suspicious. Maybe he confronted the killer, asked a few questions, made some accusations. Whatever happened, the killer must have thought it best to get rid of him, just in case. That's an interesting theory, I say, gulping back my drink. The killer bludgeoned Jessie and threw him into the river. It was a coincidence that both Jessie and Charlotte washed up in the same place. Erin continues, watching me for the smallest reaction. She's sharp, far cleverer than I am. It's disconcerting to have that ice-cold intellect directed right at me. Of course, Beatrix thought that Matthew was behind Rose's murder, so when she found Jessie's body while she was rounding up contestants who'd fallen in the river, she covered it up, like she covered up Rose's murder. So, was it Matthew? I say, pouring another drink. God knows I need one. She laughs softly, but I think it's a trap. Actually, I suspected Beatrix for a while, but then I thought about the photo that Emma took, the one of Jessie and our killer. How did she know they were the killer? I shrug. Maybe they were wearing a little sign saying, "I'm a killer." I don't know. Emma was thrown out of the party hours before Rose died. If that photo had been of anyone who was meant to be at the party, Emma wouldn't have been suspicious. It had to be someone who wasn't meant to be there. Someone who has consistently claimed that they never visited Anton's house. So Emma had to die too. You're very smart to figure all this out, I say, forcing a smile. Not just a pretty face. What about Amber, then? I fold my arms. My move. Why was she stabbed? A brief flash of hurt crosses Erin's face. She lifts her chin. I don't know for sure. Perhaps she saw through the killer's lies before the rest of us. She says it like it's a question. Same tone as Lenny. She's hoping she's wrong. I snort under my breath. She really is clever. Way too clever for her own good. It's funny, I say, pouring another drink. My hand makes the bottle shake, and it's an effort to get the vodka into the glass. I screw the lid onto the bottle before downing the shot in one. The police report into Rose's death was right, in one respect. What was that? She says quietly. Her death really was an accident. Before she can respond, I swing the bottle. She tries to duck, but she's too slow. The heavy base strikes her on the side of the temple, and she falls from her stool, landing heavily. I circle the bar, holding the bottle. I didn't want it to come to this, I sigh. You have to believe me, but you've left me no choice. She shuffles across the floor. She keeps collapsing to one side, then pushes herself up. At least she's not pleading and begging like her mother, though. That was gnarly. Fuck you, she spits. I'm sorry, I say. I really am. Sorry. Her voice is slurred, but she still manages to snarl in anger. You murdered 4 people, and you're sorry. I didn't murder Rose. I told you. It was an accident, I swear. I didn't mean to hurt her. Right, she says, rolling her eyes. Of course it was. I came to the party to talk to her, that's all. I wanted to know why she wasn't answering my calls. I'd written her dozens of letters, but she wouldn't reply. I knew if I could talk to her, then she'd realize we were meant to be together. I'm not sure why I need her to believe me. Maybe I'm trying to convince myself. Guess that didn't work out for you. She scoots farther away from me. Her eyes flick to the door. It was an accident! I yell. This is the truth. Days became weeks, became months. My friends told me losing her would get easier, that I'd move on. But the pain got worse. I'd stay up all night obsessively checking her social media for new photos, watching Anton's channel for any clue that she missed me as much as I missed her. All I saw was a girl I barely recognized. At my lowest points, I'd alternate between tears that left me unable to get out of bed and all-consuming anger that saw me smash holes in my parents' walls and get into fights at school. My thoughts would spiral out of control as I imagined the life she was leading without me. And Anton was always there, the grinning puppet master who'd stolen her away and ruined her. I wanted to grab her and shake her and scream at her. This isn't you. Why are you letting him change you like this? Where is the girl I fell in love with gone? But she wouldn't see me, or speak to me, or answer my texts and letters. I started sneaking into Anton's garden. Rose often went for a late-night swim, and I'd stand against the glass, smothered by the darkness, watching her in the brightly lit pool house. One night, she wasn't alone. She was with him, splashing around, laughing. Just the two of them. I sent her another letter. I know you're sleeping with him, it read. I saw you together in his pool. After that, it got harder to break in. Anton hired better security and put up a taller fence. My only way to get to Rose was his parties, when dozens of people would descend on the house. So that fateful night, I put on my best clothes and waited for the front gates to open for the first guests. I didn't get a chance to talk to her, though. I didn't even find her. Jessie found me first. It's G, isn't it? He said, because back then I went by that ridiculous nickname. He grabbed me by the arm and dragged me toward the gates. Rose asked me to keep an eye out for you. He threw me out and left me with a few choice threats of what would happen if I came back. I didn't realize it at the time, but Emma caught us on camera. Like Erin said, I've consistently denied ever visiting Anton's house. If people found out that this was a lie, and I'd been there the night Rose died, well, I couldn't let that happen. Because Rose hiring Jessie to intercept me had made me even more determined to speak to her. It had to stop. I'd had enough. I waited until the majority of the party moved into the house, and I went back. And I found Rose sitting on the edge of the pool, kicking her legs in the water. Gee! She gasped, jumping to her feet. Then she regained her composure. Get the hell out of here! We argued, accusations flying. I pleaded with her. I begged. I yelled and accused. I can't even remember the things I said. Just the feeling of desperation and powerlessness. I couldn't make her understand. In the months since she left me, she'd turned into this bitch who thought she was too good for me. I don't want you, she yelled at me. I will never, ever want you. It's over. And if you don't stop stalking me, I'll call the police. You're pathetic. You disgust me." The rage was white-hot and all-encompassing. I kicked out at one of the statues, slamming my foot into it again and again. My thoughts were consumed by needing to break something, smashing and destroying, in the hope that it would rid me of all the fucked-up feelings racing through my head. Rose was yelling at me to cut it out. She was shoving me and grabbing at me, her long nails scratching my arms, calling me names and screaming as if she were the one full of pent-up rage and frustration. The statue tipped off its pedestal. It fell. It was only after it crashed to the ground and my out-of-control fury vanished that I realized Rose was no longer yelling. The statue had struck her on the head. She'd been killed instantly. There was so much blood, trickling along the gaps between the tiles, dripping into the pool. Rose lay there, her angry face slackening, her lips parted with the final insult she'd hurled at me. I didn't know what to do, so I ran. I thought the police would come knocking on my door. No one ever did. I guess Beatrix made it look enough like an accident that no one asked the right questions. Jesse was the only one who could place me at the party, but he said nothing. I asked him why down on the riverbank. Turns out Anton paid all his staff to keep their mouths shut, so the investigation would conclude quickly and quietly. My life fell apart. I got kicked out of school, and the only job I could find was at the ice cream shop. I tried to move on from her, but I couldn't. Over time, I started to forgive myself. I came to terms with the fact that it wasn't my fault, or even hers. It was Anton's. When he relaunched his channel like nothing had happened, I knew I couldn't let him get away with it any longer. I promised I would make him pay. Someone had to pay. Nothing went to plan. For starters, Jessie recognized me at the museum, even though my hair is different these days, and I entered under my given name. It wouldn't have mattered if everyone had still believed Rose's death was an accident, but the ghost, Lenny, had just revealed that Rose was murdered. Jessie was suspicious. When I spotted him alone on the riverbank, I took the opportunity to make sure he didn't implicate me. But I was worried that Charlotte had seen me with him, so I tried to strangle her in the mannequin house. In the end, it was a blessing in disguise that Emma interrupted us. Charlotte is so clueless that she didn't suspect me after all. Emma was less naive. I knew she was troubled the moment she mentioned she was a journalist. That's why I tried to scare her off in the building site by pushing that scaffolding pole onto her. I should have tried harder, because it was only a matter of time before she figured out the truth. She realized that she'd taken that photo of me at the party, placing me not only at the scene of Rose's death, but revealing that I'd argued with Jessie, who by that point was also dead. So I shoved a statue onto her. All the loose ends were tied up, and Lenny's plan to out Rose's killer had failed, or so I thought. I didn't realize Emma had sent that photo to Anton HQ, and Lenny had intercepted it. I also didn't bank on a certain redhead sticking her nose where it doesn't belong. My consciousness jumps to the here and now. Erin is still edging away from me, blood trickling down the side of her face. She blinks, like she's trying to clear her head. I grin crookedly at her. You got everything right apart from one thing. I wasn't worried about Amber figuring out the truth. She wasn't the one who'd started to put the pieces together. I raised the bottle with a wink. Truth is, I thought she was you.
35. Charlotte. Anton is holding my hand as we run from room to room, banging into furniture in the dark as we race to find this ghost. Or get murdered, whichever happens first.
Can we stop for a snickety snack?
Anton slurs, pulling on my arm like a drunken toddler. I should be happy, feeling his fingers entwined with mine. This has been one of my fantasies for as long as I can remember. Only his palm is exceptionally moist, and when he talks, he sprays me with a fine mist of spittle. Some things, it would seem, are far better when they remain in your imagination. We have to get the remote control, I say. It's the only way out of this house.
But this is boring, he grumbles. Also, why does it smell of gas in here?
That's gas? Eyes widening, I sniff at the air. The house does smell odd, but I didn't know it was gas.
One spark.
Anton makes the noise of an explosion, then laughs. Great. Not only have my dreams asphyxiated in the fumes from Anton's breath, but I'm now going to be incinerated in a huge fireball. When the lights went out, there were a few minutes of confusion and bumped heads. When we got things together, we realised both Grayson and Erin had taken off already. Matthew and Beatrix got into a big argument about whose fault it was, leaving it up to me to find a way out of this mess. But Anton appears to have attached himself to me, and I'm spending more time babysitting than I am searching. Come on, focus. Where would she be? I say as I drag Anton along. She kidnapped you. You must know something.
Yeah, she's upstairs in my panic room,
Anton says.
She was the only other person who knew the code because I kept forgetting.
I take a slow, calming breath of gas. Do you remember how to get to this panic room? He snorts.
It's in my bedroom, and I can find my bed with my eyes closed, butt naked and drunk.
Best to leave your clothes on for now. I let him lead, even though I have misgivings. Eventually, he finds the stairs. True to his word, he knows where he's going. He throws open the door into a bedroom. A 4-poster bed and various pieces of antique furniture stand illuminated by the moonlight seeping through the windows. He charges across the room and throws himself onto the bed. Dust puffs up, but he doesn't notice. He stretches out on his side and pats the duvet next to him, giving me what I suspect is meant to be a sexy smile, but comes off like he's trying to remove food from his teeth with his tongue.
Care to join me?
He purrs. I've dreamed of this so many times, but right now I'm a shaken snow globe. I wish I could curl up in the bed, the little spoon to Anton's big spoon, and have him promise me that everything's going to be okay. Only I don't think Anton has cuddling in mind, and also he's revolting.
I read all your stories,
he says.
Okay, not all of them, but enough. I'm totally up for humping like guinea pigs. It sounds hot.
Ew, no, I say. 1,000,000 times no. Just tell me where the panic room is before we all die.
Oh, fine.
Sighing, he rolls off the bed and approaches a large bookshelf on one wall. He pats at the shelves until there's a loud clicking noise and the bookshelf swings open. Behind it, there's a reinforced metal door that looks like a person-sized safe. I push Anton aside and yank at the handle, but it's locked. What's the code?
Pfft, like I remember. Lenny would know.
I frown. Lenny? Never mind. I hammer on the door with both fists. Open up! We found you! Now keep your promise and let us out of this house. The taunting voice crackles from a speaker above the keypad.
I've changed my mind, she says. You're going to stay in here with me, and we'll meet Rose together.
What? That is totally unacceptable, I shout. This house is filling up with gas.
Because I broke the pipe to the stove, she says. Oh my God, that thing makes the best bread, Anton says. Do you have any bread?
She's planning to burn us alive, you idiot, I snap.
What?
He squeezes past me and hammers on the door.
Lenny, open up right now. I'm serious.
Who's Lenny? He pauses in his hammering and turns to me.
She was one of my techies, helped with running my servers and stuff. Helped you? I designed most of Shadow City, Lenny shouts. Based on my ideas, Anton rolls his eyes. With my money? A lot of good that money will do you now. You'll burn the same as the rest of us. Don't you fucking dare, he yells. No one burns Anton Fraser. I put a hand on his shoulder and gesture firmly for him to sit on the bed. Lenny, I say gently through the door. This is Charlotte. Can we talk? Please? She doesn't reply, but I figure she must be listening. I lean against the cold metal. I didn't know Rose. Not really, I say. I never bothered to get to know the real her, but I wish I had. I was too busy being jealous of her. Your loss. She was funny and smart. And kind, Lenny says. Everyone liked to think they knew her, but they saw what they wanted to see. I know what that's like. I glance at Anton, lounging on the bed and picking his nose. Then I think of Erin, how I presumed that I knew her, when in reality, I never even gave her a chance. If I get out of this thing, I'd like to get to know her better, if she'll let me. It's not fair that Rose doesn't get a chance to be who she wanted to be, I say. But you still can. Tell me about yourself. Lenny laughs bitterly. There's nothing left. After Rose died, I walked away from everything. I couldn't bear to be anywhere that held memories of her. I was sick of the whole gross, shallow world. Even still, I couldn't let her go. I knew there was more to her death than everyone said, so I started investigating. You know a lot about us all, but it wasn't enough. I narrowed down the suspects, asked questions. I even started hanging out at the shop where Rose's ex worked, trying to find out if he did it. Grayson? He was G when Rose knew him, but she'd told me enough for me to track him down. He was so different from the boy Rose had described. According to her, he was needy and possessive. I was sure he'd be the killer at first, but when I talked to him, he was nice. He had none of the arrogance that you see working in Anton's world. Hey, Anton says. Grayson was so cut up over Rose's death and so sweet. Being with him made me feel closer to her. I couldn't believe he'd had anything to do with it. So I focused on the other suspects, but no one would talk to me about that night. Even the people I'd once worked with wanted to leave it in the past. I had to find another way to get to the truth. You didn't have to hack into my damn game, though, Anton snaps. Lenny ignores him. Grayson gave me the idea. He decided to enter the game to get his revenge on Anton. He always blamed him for Rose's death. Anton frowns. Hold on. I didn't kill Rose. Pretty sure I passed out drunk that night. Shush, I say. Go on, Lenny. You set it up with a list of suspects. Me, Anton, Matthew, Beatrix, Amber, and Erin. And Grayson because you couldn't be sure. Then you revealed everything you knew, bit by bit, in the hope that the killer would make a mistake and implicate themselves. I thought someone would get scared and give something away. I didn't mean for anyone to die, though. You must have known the killer might panic and try to cover their tracks. She goes quiet, and I worry I've lost her. I just stopped caring, she says. I spent enough time researching you all to know that none of you are good people. I thought that Grayson might be, but... Lenny, I say. Emma sent me that photo, and I couldn't ignore the truth anymore. But it's so unfair. I really thought he was different. I wanted to believe that he was one of the good guys. Fuck, I knew it. It's always the ex-boyfriend, Anton says, high-fiving himself. Grayson? No way. He's the one who killed Rose. And Jessie. And Emma. And Amber. And he tried to strangle me. I don't want to believe that he's a killer. He always seemed so kind, but now that I think about it, I should have guessed based on his jeans, I say. No one good ever wears jeans that tight. Anton guffaws loudly. You're funny, he says. Behind the door, Lenny gives a watery laugh. You know, out of everyone, you're the last one I thought I'd come to like, she says. Me, I say. Does that mean you're going to let us out? She goes quiet again.
Then the door into the panic room clunks and swings open. Lenny steps out, wiping her eyes. I almost hug her in relief, but then I remember how much of a mess she's made with this game of hers. "I'm sorry," she says. "It went too far, and I didn't think there was a way back. I was being a coward." "It will be all right," I tell her, taking the remote from her hand. She shakes her head. "No, it's not all right. Rose would hate what I've become in her name. I'm going to call the police and give myself up. Deal with the consequences." "Lenny, wait!" But she's already walking out of the room. I fumble with the remote. It takes me a second to find the button that will switch on the lights. "Oh, you know what?" Anton says, sitting up on the bed, suddenly wide-eyed and sober. "The wiring in the kitchen was never all that." He doesn't get to finish. I've already pushed the button. The lights strobe on-off, and the house explodes. 36. Erin. A blast of heat and noise and light throws me off my feet. My ears feel like they're being stabbed with hot pokers, and I'm a tube of toothpaste being squeezed so hard that I think I'm going to burst. There's flying debris and flames, but, on the bright side, Grayson is no longer trying to kill me. I can't believe that bastard wants to kill me. The explosion throws me against the bar as glass bottles smash. The internal walls disintegrate into slow-motion confetti. The floor crumples and falls away. It's like when a CGI bridge collapses in a movie. I'm forced to scramble to keep up with what's left of the solid ground. I cling onto a doorframe as half the house collapses. The sound of falling rubble and creaking metal is eventually replaced by a high-pitched ringing noise that makes my head spin. I climb to my feet and nearly fall into a massive hole of death. Most of the room is gone. Several yards below me, where the kitchen used to be, there's a charred hole dotted with small fires. Flames lick at the walls and creep up what's left of the hallway staircase. The ornate banister has been smashed to pieces by the falling ceiling, leaving a few sharp spindles that remind me of exposed ribs. I look for Grayson. He hasn't fallen into the hole, more's the pity. Instead, he's staggering near the pool table, clutching his ears with both hands. I snatch up a pool cue. "Hey, asshole!" He turns in time for me to whack him right in the face. He falls onto the singed velvet. "That's for trying to bludgeon me with a bottle." I crack the cue against one of his knees, then hit him in the balls too for good measure. He flops off the table and onto the floor. The way he rolls around sobbing and gagging is pathetic. I smash the pool cue on the edge of the table, and a big chunk splinters off. It leaves me with a shorter, sharper piece. I stand over Grayson, raising the broken cue like a spear. He rolls onto his back and stops whimpering. Instead, he watches me with a faint smirk on his face. "This isn't you, Erin," he says. "You don't know me," I reply. "What's to know?" he says wearily. I pull back the cue to strike. "Stop, Erin!" Charlotte stumbles into the room, followed by Anton. They're on the opposite side of the hole, in the part of the house most badly damaged by the explosion. I'm not sure it will be standing for much longer. "Help!" Grayson squeaks. "She's really going to kill me!" "Shut up!" I press the sharp tip of my weapon against his throat, and he whimpers softly. "You don't have to do this," Charlotte says, searching for a way to reach me. "He's a murderer," I say. "I know," Charlotte says, "but he's not worth wrecking your life over." "Ha! What life?" Grayson watches Charlotte with wide eyes. His knight in shining armour, coming to his rescue. She slowly skirts around the edge of the hole. There's hardly any floor left, but she clings to a light fixture to swing herself over a broken section, shielding her head as pieces of ceiling plaster drop from above. "Charlotte!" Anton cries. "Charlotte, hold my hand!" "Go away, Anton," Charlotte says. "Seriously, not the time." The floor creaks below Charlotte, and she freezes. Her gaze is fixed on me. My hand shakes on the pool cue. All it will take is one little push, and Grayson will be dead. He deserves it. So why haven't I done it already? Erin, wait. Please. Charlotte whispers something to herself, and then she jumps. She lands just beyond the jagged edge of the hole, wobbles but keeps her balance. She approaches me with her hands held out. Put the stick down. We'll call the police and let them deal with him. He killed my mother, I say quietly. Why are you trying to save him? I'm not trying to save him. I'm trying to save you, she says. Please, Erin, you're better than him. I don't think I am, but the way Charlotte's looking at me makes me wonder if I could be. There's such concern and hope in her expression, and I'm not sure anyone's ever looked at me like that before. Like they can see a version of me that I can't, and they're waiting for me to catch up. You're a good person, she says. I know I haven't been very nice to you, but I really want to be your friend, and that's going to be hard if you're in prison. This makes me laugh. I'm suddenly struck by the thought that, even though everything feels unrelentingly shitty right now, I have this whole future ahead of me, and I can be whoever I want to be. Charlotte's right. I can't throw that opportunity away over Grayson. I imagine using what little money is left after the sale of my mother's house to rent an apartment somewhere. I could get a normal job and save up to go back to school. I could cut my hair short and meet Charlotte for coffee in the evenings. We could talk about whatever friends talk about and even be happy. I relax my grip on the stick the smallest bit. Oh my God, what the fuck happened? Matthew skids into the room from an undamaged wing of the building. I glance at him over my shoulder. Grayson uses my distraction to yank the weapon out of my hands. He rolls to the side and is on his feet in a second. He points the stick at my stomach, forcing me to back up toward the hole. Grayson, Beatrix says, appearing behind Matthew. What are you doing? Having a fucking bad day, he snaps. Let's recap, accomplices, Anton shouts in his filming voice. He's halfway around the edge of the hole, following Charlotte's route to join the rest of us. Even though he's balanced dangerously above a perilous drop, he's decided that this is the right moment to start filming us on an action cam. Basically, Lenny was pretending to be a ghost, but then she nearly killed us by filling the house with gas. She was feeling sad about her best boy being a big murdery murderer, and briefly lost her sense of scale. Lenny, Beatrix says. Our Lenny? She left after Rose died. And now she's back, Anton says. Or she was. She's gone again now. She went to call the police, but I don't know if she was caught in the explosion, Charlotte says. Wait, best boy? Beatrix looks between everyone in the room. Do you mean Grayson? It's not what you think, Grayson shouts. This isn't me. This isn't who I am. I think this is exactly who you are, I say. Shut up, I'm trying to think. His voice is cracking like he's going to cry. I need to think. I can't believe I liked you, Beatrix cries. Oh my God, I have the worst taste in men. Matthew makes a face. I can see him creeping up behind Grayson, trying to reach us before he shoves me into the hole, but the floor creaks beneath his foot. Get back, Grayson yells. I'll do it. I'll push her off. To prove his point, he gives me a little poke. I teeter on the edge. Matthew stops moving. You sure this is what you want to do? I say, glancing around for a way out of this mess. I can't see one. It's nothing personal, he says, reminding me of the first time we met. Me chasing him into that skate park. Him, unprepared except for a sleepy smile and a flick of his hair. My first impression of someone has never been this wrong before, and that's saying a lot, given the fact that I dated Jessie. It feels kind of personal, I say. He smiles and wrinkles his nose. Maybe a little bit. The stick presses harder against my stomach. I can feel him tensing as he tries to gather the courage to murder me on film. Think, Erin. All right, a plan. I have a plan. Rose, I say, craning my head to peer around him. No way! And he falls for it. The moment Grayson turns to look, I swat the stick aside and clasp a handful of his sweater. I give him a hard tug, dragging him off balance. He stumbles toward the edge of the hole, flailing his arms, rocking on tiptoes. I could grab him by the collar and pull him back. I could. I don't. With a scream, he falls. There's a sickening crunch, and then nothing except for the creaking of the ruined house. The others join me, and we all stare into the fire-lit hole. Grayson has landed on the broken banister, and one of the upright posts has impaled him through the chest. It's disgusting, and yet kind of fitting. No one speaks. The fire crackles and the building groans. Lenny, dusty and bleeding, crawls from the downstairs wreckage and sits, staring at Grayson like the rest of us. In the distance, sirens approach.
So everyone's therapy is on me,
Anton eventually says, lowering the camera.
We all have a lot to work through.
I take off my smart glasses. I've worn them for so long that I feel unexpectedly light without them. I toss them into the hole on top of Grayson's body. Game over, I say quietly. Then I walk away. Anton Meets His Match, the final instalment, by Anton's Girl XOXO. Fire licks at us like 10,000 fiery snake tongues. Both Anton and I are hanging on for dear life. His mansion has just exploded with the power of 2 planetary bodies colliding, their orbits destined to overlap, yet their union an impossible dream. Our fingers grip tightly to a twisted metal beam, but it can't hold the weight of both of us. Our hearts are just too heavy. Together, we are doomed.
One of us must surely let go,
Anton exclaims, his dreamy blue orbs rolling wildly in their sockets.
It will have to be you, but it hurts so much to lose you, Lola. Our love has only just blossomed, like a flower in the wasteland of a murderous volcanic eruption that just destroyed everything but hope.
My head dramatically whips around us as I turn to stare into his impenetrable gaze with my own nondescript brown ophthalmic spheres. Anton, I plead, why must I be the one to die to prove my love to you? His face twists in confusion because, let's just face it, I have allowed myself to be a doormat for our entire imaginary relationship.
I don't want you to die,
he ejaculates, a single tear running down his beautiful face.
But this beam cannot hold us both. One of us must let go.
Yeah, you already said that, mate. I heave myself up into what's left of his grand, unnecessarily large, entertaining space. Turns out I have more upper body strength and determination than either of us realised.
Wait, Lola! Don't leave me! Where are you going?
I'm saving myself, I say. I suggest you try doing the same. With Anton's wails reverberating on the wind, I claw my way through the inferno and crawl out onto the dewy, poorly maintained lawn. Matthew, Beatrix and Lenny are all there, crying because they thought I was lost forever. Erin sees me, and we run to each other, throwing our arms around each other's heaving forms. You made it, my friend, Erin wails. I am so proud of you. I am proud of you too, I vocalise. I value the way that you both support me and believe in me without making selfish demands of my friendship, nor patronising me with unnecessary interference. That's because you've got this, girl. We don't need each other, but our lives are better for having discovered the bond of female friendship. We stand together on that lawn and watch as Anton's house, and my childish crush, burns bright against an endless night of vanquished loneliness. It wasn't Anton's fault. Not really. I was the one who fell in love with the idea of him, not the real boy. Because I didn't believe that I was enough without him. You're enough, Erin declares. We are both enough. I entwine my fingers with hers. Smouldering confetti rains down from above as sirens and flashing lights mark the divide between our past and our future. And now, in that fleeting breath that is the present, I know that we're going to be all right. In the end, I didn't win Anton's game, but I won something far more valuable. Comments 134. Sean 23.
I hate you, Charo, too. You kicked me in the chest and left me to drown. I didn't drown, by the way. Thanks.
Matthew Bright as the brightest.
None of this happened. What is wrong with you, Charlotte?
Anton Stanfran. Why is this tagged with Anton when the character is so unlike him that no real fan would recognise this whiny boy-child character? Stop trying to trick people into reading your self-insert fantasies. Eat My Feet.
I love your work so much. Heart, heart, heart.
Erin Love Hates. Please turn him into a guinea pig again. He deserves it. Love, Erin. Kiss. This concludes Tag You're Dead by Kathryn Foxfield, narrated by Sasha Higgins and Elliot Fitzpatrick. Copyright 2024 by Kathryn Foxfield. This unabridged audiobook is published by arrangement with Sourcebooks LLC and was produced in the year 2024 by Tantor Media Incorporated, a division of Recorded Books, which holds the copyright thereto. Please visit tantor.com for more information on our growing library of unabridged audiobooks.